now, cats, we're back again this week on the Balls Show, and with me, I have a series of very special guests. Some special guests coming up later. I had mentioned if you follow my social media, which all three of you really seem to dig, I mentioned that there is a little band called Sic MAD coming up here. They're actually with me now. I actually also have the man, the myth, the legend of Mega Jackson is with me as well. We're going to talk to him. I have some other special guests jumping in here later, but I want to get to it right now. Like, I'm going to hand it over to you guys. Hey, what's going on? This is Happy. This is Mega Jackson. I am Balls, and we're going to fucking talk about some shit. So let's get right to it, cats. What do you got going on?
Well, the connection here is that we just came out with a split cassette, and it was put together by a mentor that we share. His name is Tony Pradlick, and he owned the record store called Rocking Rex that I feel like was a parallel and a reason why I refer to Omega Jackson as my little brother, because I think we had similar experiences at the same period in our life, but in different decades. In reality, I'm like 93 and he's like 32. But we both went to the same record store.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take 32.
It was an alternative record store. Everyone had one, right? In their town, a place that you go to that there's a weirdo and he's like, yo, man, buy this record. And you buy that record and your brain melts. And actually, Vic had that shared experience too. So there's a lot of people who had that connection because of Tony in Yonkers, New York, and like all over the world with the alternative record stores. And that's why I was really drawn to your show, Balls, because you remind me of that same kind of similarity, like that feeling, because he also had shows and there was also a scene where people would gravitate to and learn about music from him.
Absolutely, man. I miss those because they seem like they're going the way of the buffalo, and it makes me sad because you're never going to have that experience. Kids growing up today, I don't just want to sound like, I'm an old man, which I am, but I mean, they're never going to have that experience of going in and like discovering music and fucking picking it up and looking at it, holding it and hearing it and talking to people and meeting like-minded people. And me, a lot of the people that I met when I first, learned about and embraced like the whole ska, movement, I had some of the best friends in music stores and record stores and on the computer and shit and like, talking to people. And it seems like that's going to be something that people are going to lose. Like you're going to lose that experience. I mean, online, you can meet a lot of people online, but there's no better experience to me than, being in there and like you said, people coming up, hey, man, you got to check this out. And then you start developing organic conversations, man. People, I think, become so technically reliant on talking online that like they almost shit their pants when they have to have a fucking real conversation with people now, and it sucks.
I think there's a small resurrection of the record store. Like it's not gonna be like back in the day, but out of let's say there was 5 hopping record stores, maybe there's 1 or 2 in the neighborhood right now. There's
still out there. You're right.
Yeah,
they're not completely dead.
No, it's not dead. I mean, it's not the same, but like Barnes and Noble sells vinyl now. There's been this vinyl resurrection. Cassettes too. There's been this.
Yeah, that's a flip, and that's what's funny about this, because this is a cassette. It's cool because it's with a download card, and Sic MAD came out with a cassette called Now I'm Vexed in 1995, and I think we did a show at Rocking Rex around, I want to say like 99, 2000, maybe a little before that.
No,
and I think
because Rex closed at August 95.
Okay, but that's when I first met you. I remember we hung out in the parking lot, and you were dumb young. You must have been about 14, 15, right?
Probably 15, going on 16. Y'all played with, I want to say, Shut Up, Christine. Or y'all came once to Rockin' Rex, and then I couldn't go to that show, and then everyone that went was like, yo, this is band Sic MAD. It's right up your alley. So y'all came back probably later on that year, and I was hyped. And y'all
you with 40 Dog?
Was I with 40 Dog, or was I drinking the 40 Dog?
No, it wasn't. That was one of the bands that played.
It might be, yeah. Come to think of it, yeah. With like the 2 G's at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 40 Dog. And then y'all came back with Home 33, And
yeah, he smashed it.
ooh, that was a show. That was.
Omega was a little dude. He was wide-eyed. We were just chilling. I remember because Sic MAD, we were kind of getting old, and we're like, "Is it worth it?" And I met Omega, and he was so amped. He was so hyped. He gave me this energy, and it's crazy because there's so many personal things on this new cassette, and a lot of it is also Sammy K. And Omega reminds me a lot of Sammy K because Sammy K did the same thing to Sic MAD about 10 years later. That younger dudes give me energy. You know what I mean?
That's wow. That's crazy. That's some Umbrella Academy shit. Like, we're all.
And like we were talking, like last summer, we went out. We were hanging out with like me and Tony, and like we were talking to Chris. I'm sorry, Omega, and he's like, we were talking about putting out a split. He's like, let's call it Still Vexed. I think because he really like well, we always hype me up about the old Sic MAD. Always be like, your songs aren't as good as they were back then. And I was like, ooh, okay. So I'm going to work on some stuff.
See, when y'all tape, like my deal was I would go to school until 4th or 5th period, take the bus to go see Tony. So y'all tape and Home 33's tape dropped around the same time. So people would come in looking for shit to buy, and I would go straight to y'all tape. And I would get feedback. It'd be a lot of kids cutting school, going to Rock and Rex, asking, what to cop. And it'd be like, yo, y'all need this right here. Like, it'd be you guys, and it'd be Home 33, mostly you guys. But it'd be, and I would get feedback from these kids. And it'd be like, yo, this shit is dope. Like, but also, I had a little rinky-dink band called Magnus, and y'all let us open up for y'all a couple of times. Granted, I used to not cut, but like, I'd be out past, I'd had to be home at 11. I would sneak out and go see y'all, come home and catch that ass whooping. You would drive me home sometimes to go get that ass whooping. Yeah,
then I started seeing Omega at the shows, and I'm like, oh, you're that little dude from Yonkers. What are you doing out here? You were not old enough, and it was late. Like, we had cars, but he took the train down, and I knew the schedule that he was missing the last train, and I don't know what he was planning, so I drove him home, and it was funny because I used to listen to Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One, talking about being a vegetarian, and I was really into that. And so I was on some dickhead preachy shit, and I just bothered him. Like, he's like, can we stop at McDonald's or White Castle? And I like lit into him, like, you shouldn't eat meat. Meat is murder. All this Robert Smith shit. The funny thing is, it stuck. I'm not a vegetarian anymore, but he is.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I'm pescatarian. Sic MAD is one of the reasons why I'm pescatarian. Happy being, probably the first person I knew, that wasn't on some like super militant shit that was like, yo, stop eating meat. And it's like,
I did.
KRS-One, there's an infamous trip to McDonald's where I think Vic was in the front. It's
Probably.
me, you, I think Vic, and my man, and K Strong. And you straight up berated the Yonkers Avenue McDonald's lady. He was like, yo, there better not be no ham in this shit. There better not be no hamburgers in this shit. Yo, I'm not leaving until my order's correct. Like, yo, my man.
I don't even remember it.
But we both got the fillet of fish. And it was like, oh, word, all right,
Yeah, I think we jetted before we paid.
Probably. Sorry.
But what was really funny to me was like, I had the same experience at Rocking Rex about 10 years before Omega did. I used to bring Vic over there to learn about alternative music, and that's how me and Vic learned about ska. Vic didn't know anything about alternative music until like we were hanging out, and we used to go to Rocking Rex, and we'd see this guy Tony, and he'd always recommend records like, oh, you should listen to the Specials, you should listen to Dead Kennedys, all this weird, wild stuff, like even like DRI, SOD, and he was doing that for years and years with so many kids, and it affected a whole bunch of people growing up in that area.
Probably a whole generation. I'd say, there's probably a certain segment that was born between a certain age that was looking for other things to listen to and watch, and ended up at this little rinky-dinky record store, and the disease spread.
And videos and fanzines. So it was like you were getting an education back before the internet that was equivalent to the internet these days.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, now these kids are spoiled. They got their phone. We go to Rocking Rex and we used to spend like, $10, $20, which back then was probably the equivalent of $50, $60 now. And just like I still have the fanzines. I still got the VHS tapes. I still got like the records.
Public storage got all my shit. So,
Word.
Yeah.
And how much stuff did you have to do to like earn to go get those records, man? That's what makes them so special too. I mean, I had to work my ass off to go get records when I was a kid.
Yeah, you just get like one or two at a time, right?
Yeah, and then you go home and it was like a religious experience, man. You'd be looking at the covers.
Yeah, reading
But you listen to it 100,000 times till you know from front to back. At least I do, because I'm like Rain Man. So I mean, it's just I miss those times. I think it's cool that like vinyl's making a comeback. I mean, I always thought it was way more personal.
Oh yeah.
I want to see fanzines come back. That's what
I miss that shit, man. That's something that definitely needs to come. All the people that put the love and time and the passion and the work into that, it's like a web page just ain't the same,
Tony's wife had an ill-ass fan page too. Fanzine, I'm sorry. She had a dope fanzine, and like you would go to Rock and Rex and be flipping through the fanzine pile, sitting there laughing, and then you're sitting there laughing, someone comes up and they're like, yo, what you reading? And it's like blah blah blah. And it's like, yo, I did that. Like, oh shit. Like, you sit there and chop it up about the fanzine, which was dope.
Yeah, because fanzines, they taught you as much as the records, maybe probably more, because you learn about multiple, bands and scenes and things like that. And it really taught you the world is a much bigger place than you realize growing up in your neighborhood. And I really want to ask these questions now, take over the interview, because I'm really interested. At one point in his career, I want to know what Omega did, because he came out with some independent stuff and he did some like little shoestring DIY tours. What's really interesting about Omega, it's just a classical rapper, but it's so punk rock, the formula.
Yeah, I mean, I would get on the bus. One of my first get on the bus shows was to Florida, and there was clearly, it was straight up. It was like, you ain't getting no money, but we got a keg of beer. I was like, fuck it, I'll go do the show for so it'd be 22 hours on a bus to Orlando, and then go do it for a keg of beer. And the funny part was the place that had the show took the keg of beer. So there was no beer. I'd get a Discovery Pass from Greyhound, and you either had 2 weeks, a month, or 3 months. So I would get these passes from Craigslist, probably from someone's stolen credit card, and they would get these passes for people. And I would just post up in different states, sleep on couches, sleep at the bus station, the train station, whatever, and go rock these shows and go sell my little handmade, CDRs and shit. Later became handmade T-shirts, and then, sort of caught wind. Like people started like, yo, you did that all by Greyhound. And I learned it from John Franco from Awkward Thought would do it. J-Zone the rapper would do it. What's the dude? Icon the Mike King. He's another underground cat that would do it. He's got a whole blog on it, and just, would find out places to play from these cats. And it would just, I'd get home and be like, yo, next time I could book you a show. And be like, all right, cool. And then go, be up in Spokane, Washington, or, Tucson, Arizona, off a 3-day bus trip, and meet with like-minded cats.
Let me ask you, Omega, what's the craziest thing you ever seen doing one of these DIY shows?
Mainly, like, one time I played in Philly, which isn't that far away, but, these kids came up, they were opening act. I had on a Dickies a Dickies khaki shirt on, and matching shorts, whatever, and Tim's on, because I'm New York, and it's the summertime. And these kids come up to me and my man Ian Head, he was DJing, and it was like, yo, y'all rappers, y'all look like a bunch of poets. It was like, oh, word, all right. And I took that to heart. These dudes got on stage, and it was probably the worst performance I've ever seen. And so we get on after, we destroy it, get off, they give us fives and whatnot. Yo, y'all killed it, I'm sorry about that. And then proceeded to get in a fight with another group that was playing.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so mostly fights. Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you this as well, man. Can you name me some of the people that inspired you lyrically growing up?
Chuck D, first and foremost.
Oh, dude, I've been a PE fan since I was a kid, man.
where that Wild Style poster is, it's gonna move because I got a big ass. It takes a nation of a million to hold his back poster.
Oh, nice.
Chuck
Hey,
D.
hold on a second, man. I
Right.
got something you might. Just so you know, I'm not full of shit.
Woo! I had one of them. I think someone's thankful. I had one of them. Karis won. You know.
Oh, dude, I love BDP.
Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I have a Del tattoo.
Oh, cool, man. That's cool.
Oh, man, I didn't know you like rap, Balls. That's cool.
Yeah, that's what's
Actually,
up.
to be honest with you, man, I was super in the rap growing up, and I was always into it. And I didn't even discover ska till I was like in high school. Once I heard the ska flaws, dude, it changed my life. Ska flaws, and I started seeking, like you said, I started to realize there was a scene. I met this chick at a mall, and she kind of gave me the whole, introduction to ska. And then, like I said, that's when I started seeing the Slackers, and
This is so nuts because me and Vic started off as rappers. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I am Dr. Juice and he is MC Mello.
We'll have to have him, do a few bars when he gets here, maybe.
Yeah, y'all gotta bar up for us.
I thought this was going to turn into like a versus, like an old school battle.
Uh-oh.
Let's bring it. Now he'll kill me, but no, there's like, it's New York, and there's this like thing happening in the underground with hip hop. With punk started in New York, and hardcore. I don't know. I mean, it was everywhere, but punk originally started in the New York underground. I think it spread throughout America and the world, but then there was New York hardcore in the mid '80s, and that really inspired me. And I want to go on a limb, knowing he's wearing a Cro-Mag shirt and saying that Omega, and also Yonkers. Oh man, Yonkers, you had Anthrax, and I wasn't really that into metal myself, but I remember once Sic MAD did a practice over in a space in Yonkers, and they had Anthrax were practicing there, and they had their speakers. It was like, the stencils and the spray paint. I was like, whoa,
Off the Sawmill.
Anthrax,
The spot off the Sawmill?
Yeah, you remember that spot? It was like near Ardsley going to Yonkers.
That's their spot. That's their rehearsal spot.
I mean, Anthrax is that marker for me. I mean, there's like Slayer, there's like, I'm not even into metal, but that style of that crossover, what do you call that? And we also have Metal Blade Records.
Oh yeah, that's right. You do got Metal Blade. That was from, I think, Yonkers.
And the Ardsley, the CEO, he lived there, and his son went to my school. Balls, did you know any of this stuff? Like,
It wasn't Metal Blade Records the one Gore was on?
I think it was like that hardcore death metal.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Gore was on Metal Blade Records.
They probably were. They did the first Metallica, Anthrax, obviously.
That shit was hard as hell. I can't.
I love metal, man. I appreciate a lot of kind of music. I just don't like country. That's about it.
Oh man, I'm the opposite now. All I want to listen to is country.
See,
Yeah.
I like three. I like Patsy Cline, Johnny Cash, and like.
Johnny Cash. So I was like, is that a Johnny Cash record, Omega?
That's about it, man. Other than that,
No, but it was like.
Well, you know what? Maybe let me reiterate myself. I shouldn't say I don't like country. I don't like country rock like that. Today, like I can appreciate old country. I just don't like all this fused with pop and all that other shit.
And I'm like that with metal. It's funny because growing up, everyone had their favorite hardcore bands. I always loved Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law kind of shaped me to have that sense of humor. And growing up, I had a friend that loved Cro-Mags, and he used to tag up Cro-Mags. I have another friend, Jimmy, that loved Sick of It All, and he used to tag up Full of Hate because that was, I think, their second record, right? Or they said, what was that song? The guilty go free, and this world full of hate. It was like, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, who the fuck is that?
I said Sick of It All, right?
That's Sick of It All. That's Sick of It All. Yeah.
I don't know, like the New York area, it was like that New York hardcore scene was booming around the mid '80s, and I loved it, but I hated it because those shows were violent. The matinees at CB's were always shut down. We had a spot called the New Ritz, which was old Studio 54, and I had a friend that was a skinhead. I mean, we didn't have racist skinheads or anything, but we had violent as fuck skinheads.
Man, I remember the first Super Bowl of hardcore, yo. Like, all my skinhead friends came back, went to Rockin' Rex, and they looked like they were in a brawl. Like, they looked like
violent as shit.
Fight.
EMS everywhere.
Oh, God.
And some of those dudes were really cool. And what I respect about them, like I'm saying, we had what was called Sharp, Skinheads Against Racist Prejudice. They were not racist. They were anti-racist. But they would beat up everybody.
Yeah.
So that's not good. It's like,
Yeah, we had Sharps in Pittsburgh too, man. But yeah, like you said, it didn't take much for them to throw down on pretty much anyone.
Yeah, fights
Racists will beat the fuck out of everybody.
It was a really creative time around that time in New York because we had a lot of people that just boom went over to the next level. Like I remember the Casualties grew out of that scene, and then there was like Leftover Crack grew out of the scenes that we were watching, but a little bit more downtown. And we all had connections to these different bands. Like that band Casualties had this kid Mark Yoshitoma. He now runs Generation Records. He came out of the Rocking Rex, family too. He used to work at Record Stop with that Asian lady Annie that Tony used to work with.
I thought it was Sue.
Sue.
Yeah. I grew up skating with Mark Meggers. He used to play drums in the Casualties.
So I think for about 10 years, 85 to 95, there was this really creative energy coming out of Lower Westchester, like Yonkers, the different boroughs of New York, and it was evolving. But it's not like today, whereas there were so many different sections of music. You were either this or you were that. And that's what was interesting about like Sic MAD and Omega Jackson, because we were crossing lines that weren't really crossed. I mean, in some ways, it was almost like segregation. I felt like in some ways, it was almost like the 50s or the 60s, because I go to different neighborhoods and I'd be the only white person there.
Oh, yeah, especially Yonkers. Like Westchester in general, I mean, Westchester had white flight. Because, whatever else, whoever was moving into the Bronx, they were moving up to Westchester, and the motherfuckers that moved to Westchester wasn't having it. They was keeping their neighborhood segregated, and you think with Yonkers being so close to the Bronx, it wouldn't be as segregated, but the second, Yonkers is the second city to desegregate, and it's like some Mississippi town that's like the first. Boston got desegregated before Yonkers. Come on now. Yeah.
It was actually a crazy time. Did you guys see Fear City? It's documentary that just came out on Netflix. It was about the organized crime. It was interesting. I remember all of that, the Mafia, Gotti, all these Italians, because that same neighborhood we had this street called Central Avenue, which was the Rocking Rex was at the end of it, but most of Central Avenue, you had these Italian-American kids, and they had connections usually to like, if they weren't mob connected, they wanted to be mob connection. They were like, we called them Guidos, and they had them on Jersey. What was that show? Jersey Shore? Yeah. We had a lot of characters like that. We called them Guidos, and they smelled like Polo Cologne and what is it called? Dakar?
Pool water.
Yeah. But it was funny because you were rebelling against all of that in the 80s and 90s. That culture was so mainstream. If you were into punk, if you were into hardcore, if you were into rap, if you were into metal, you were on the outskirts of society. And, I feel like the rebels always band together.
That's pretty much it. Like I skated for a long time, and I met a lot of people through that, then ended up at Rockin' Rex. And, skating had a lot of cross pollination, so to say. Like, you'd meet up to go skate with kids from Scarsdale and then learn about Black Flag, and you would put them on to like Ultramagnetic, and then make tapes for each other and shit. And then trading tapes was always big. Like we also had the Red Alert show, and we had Marley Marl, and we had Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito. And back then you had cassettes. That was like currency. That's how you learned about music. Records were more expensive, but tapes were more accessible because you can go over to Caldor or Kmart or wherever, and you get like a pack of tapes. You make a tape and you share it with your friends, or you bootleg your records. And it's great because we grew out of the underground, and this cassette is really a tribute to that, and specifically Tony and Rocking Rex, because Tony put up half the money. So we all went in on this project, like we all like worked hard, and we all like, kept in touch, and it was crazy. This was all happening right now during COVID. And I love Omega's song, $1,200 and Running. He's so punk rock, and you should listen to that. Everyone should listen to that song because everything on his side is everything I want Sic MAD to be about as far as the message. There's so much message on this cassette. But I feel like Sic MAD is, as me as a songwriter, I'm in a different part of my life, being a few years older. Some message just popped up. The shit got upgraded. Oh shit, we ain't got to switch. We ain't got to do the bootleg.
Where am I?
Oh.
Are we running out of time?
Yo. That got upgraded. Someone put money on it.
I think we got a few more minutes, right?
Someone put money on the commissary, I think.
Balls, was it like that when you were growing up? I'm curious. Or was it a localized thing?
Well, you know, it's funny, man. Like, I'm actually envious of you cats because, like, it was a way different culture and scene where I'm at. I mean, you guys, you're like in the pulse of all this stuff and you're smack dab in the middle of it. It's a little more different when you're kind of in a more rural area. Like, I grew up in Pennsylvania, you know.
Balls, let me cut you off real quick. Pause. Yonkers is right, Westchester's right next to the Bronx. If you ask people in Manhattan about Yonkers, they call it upstate.
They don't know what it is.
Yeah, we had this hodgepodge, but like, you know, Westchester in general had to fight to sort of get a seat at the table, you know.
All we had was Rocky Rex.
Yeah, pretty much. Fucking Seven Willow and whatnot, but mostly Rock and Rex. Yeah. Oh man, sorry to cut you off, Paul. Go.
No, it's cool, man. But I was saying, I mean, it's you know, there was very little clubs. You know, the Pittsburgh punk scene was, you know, very small. It was a kind of a small, but in a way, it was kind of a good thing because it was such a, you know, you kind of went to the shows. You got to meet the same people. You kind of became like family. But I mean, we didn't have like all these different outlets. Like I wish I had that growing up because I'd have to get in the car. I lived in this little fucking hick town. I'd have to drive an hour and a half to even get anywhere to go see a show.
And me too, because I had to drop off Omega.
Oh wait, Vic's. Oh shit. I wonder if we should.
Sammy,
Are we dropping off or no?
No, we're still there.
I'm gonna admit Vic here. Hold on, but we're gonna probably cut off here pretty soon. We're gonna have to rejoin in here.
All right, so the battle's gonna start. You better get out your notebook or something.
Well, hold on, man. I don't want to miss this. Like, we got to record this here. So, like, can you?
Oh, look, he's wearing a hat.
Can you guys tell whenever this?
And a striped shirt. Watch how much I'm gonna fuck with Vic. Vic, we're so happy you could carve us into your busy schedule.
Yeah, it's.
I talked to Lauren.
You're being welded.
Oh, hey, Lauren. Lauren, this is my friend Chris, also Omega.
Hey, y'all.
No, give us back to Lauren. She's the best. I like your. Vic came out with a single. What was that called? You're the man.
What?
It's a box set.
Who's the man?
Happy's of wise ass over here. This is who he is. I hope you're happy to meet.
Because we were talking about Anthrax and rap. Do you remember that song? Who's the man?
Yeah, I'm the man.
I'm the man.
I'm the man. I'm so bad. I should be in detention.
That's right. I'm the man.
They didn't know that we started off as rappers. I'm sorry, Lauren. Did I make you mad? No, me and Vic started off as rappers. He was MC Mello and I was Dr. Juice. And actually, you know, we had one of our first gigs was in our neighboring town. We had a Quad Village talent show, and I wrote a song called Ardsley Cop. Because we grew up in Ardsley, and that was probably the first Sick and Mad song.
Hey guys, freestyle if it never happened.
We weren't really good at freestyling, but we did write good rhymes. And, you know, I had a couple, MC Mello had a couple of good rhymes there.
He had a song called Grape Ape. Do you remember? Yeah, Grape Ape. Is off the air?
Grape Ape is one of the great forgotten cartoons of the era.
You guys remember Grape Ape?
Yeah,
oh my God, I love Grape Ape. I'd probably still watch Grape Ape.
It's weird because I remember shit.
I was watching the Shirt Tales the other day. Of course I remember.
Oh my God.
Oh man, Vic, say hi to Chris. It's Omega.
Hi, Vic.
Omega.
Do you remember him?
How you doing, Omega Jackson over here?
Brian, how you doing, Vic?
You know, it's amazing. I never know who I know and who I don't know.
But he used to come to the Sick and Mad shows over at Rocking Rex.
Yeah, boy, I saw Tony. Oh my God, I never would have. It was amazing. Tony was so humble. He didn't come up and say, "Hey, I'm Tony from Rockin' Rex." Just came over and said, "Oh yeah, you know, I'm friends with some of your friends." And I was like, "Tony from Rockin' Rex." I'm like, he was one of the guys that kept the underground. He made the underground happen in Yonkers. Yonkers and where was it? Hartsdale, where the other record store was that he worked?
Record Stop, where Mark used to work at with Sue.
Yeah. I mean, these were places. That was the first place, aside from punk records, that was the first place I ever heard a Bo Diddley record in its entirety.
Oh, well, yeah, in its entirety.
Yeah, because you learned about everything, good music back then. I mean, on records, and they're like, okay, I remember I got a Cramps record, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Because I thought it was punk, and it wasn't punk, and I was like, this is weird. Made me think. And they introduce you to different things. Now kids are like clicking on when they're curious, but back then you needed someone to like, point you in the right direction.
It was those guys that were like gatekeepers. They held the keys to the entrance, and then they let you in, and they would let you know if you could handle it, or maybe you couldn't. They'd be like, yeah, I don't know if you're ready for that right now. They're like alien sex fiend, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Maybe wait a year,
See, I buy a record, and it was like, if you like this purchase, they were like the original Amazon shopping experience. So like then you would like this one, and Tony would pull out something like Sham 59 that I never would have picked up, and you had it on the plastic sleeve and marker explaining what it was, because nobody knew what it was, like UK punk from '79, and you're like, I guess it sounds cool, and you bring it home, and you'd be like, holy shit! Sometimes you couldn't even listen to it in the store.
Yeah. Or like, there's so much. I mean, but that's of course, and off to Sic and Mad, so far as influences and stuff like that. I don't think we even were being conscious of what our influences were. We were just being like, man, I heard this crazy thing the other day. Somebody told me about the Velvet Underground, and we should totally do this. And it's like, Happy, you want to do this? And you'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I don't play anything, so you got to play it, but just tell me what, play it for me.
So what's besides y'all two's group, what was like the second part of the genesis of Sic and Mad?
Well, first there was Hector from France, right? No.
We wanted to pick up the girl Mimi. We wanted to pick up Mimi, and
she was so hot. She had, you remember that line, the big titty girls from ABC Omega in your song?
From ABC.
It was that. She was like this punk goddess. She had a voluptuous figure. She had like green spiky hair. She played the violin, and me and Vic were both madly in love with her instantly, and we were best friends. And so I think we both did the same thing at the same time. Like, yo, we got a band.
Yeah, and we were like, she played violin, so we invited her to play bass, because we said, well, it's also got 4 strings, because I played bass at the time. I said, cool, you can play bass. I'll play the guitar. You can play your violin, because it'll be like a Velvet Underground,
Yeah, and I think the first song was World Peace Sucks. And I just yelled out, World Peace Sucks! And you scream and the jam. And Vic was hanging out in the band room a lot because he was starting to find himself.
Yeah.
These older boys.
The band teacher gave me passes to hang out. I could hang out.
It's coming out now in his biography.
Mr. Marady. He said I could cut class and hang out in the band room, but I couldn't do it if I was going to miss a test. He said, you can't get out of tests. He's like, but if you just like want to come hang out down here, here's a collection of passes. They're pre-signed. You just fill in the rest of the part, and I'll get you back the whole time.
And he's hanging out with older boys that would do stuff with him. And those guys went on to like play in bands. One of them is Gil Paris, and he's still a very respected, accomplished musician. So Vic was playing with kids that were like a little bit older than him, that like showed up things in the band room.
Yeah, my parents thought I was gay because older guys were coming to pick me up from my house.
Like, hey, man, I don't know. They were just playing music. Honestly, who knew? Yeah.
But if it had been this time, if it had been this climate that we're in right now, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have turned out the same way, because back then, if you were gay in high school, like we know a couple of kids that ended up being gay, nobody ever talked about it. And if my dad accused me of being gay, it was the worst thing in the world. Yeah, nowadays it wouldn't be nothing.
Like, what do you mean that's so gay? That means it's like, cool,
Not even that. Happy, you got 2 daughters, right?
What?
You got 2 daughters. I mean, if one of them,
I thought one was gay. I was disappointed. I'm like, oh, that's cool. She's gay. She don't got to worry about guys. It's like, you don't care if anyone's gay nowadays. You're like, okay, you're gay, next problem, but you're not a Republican, are you?
Exactly. Don't be a gay Republican.
That doesn't make sense.
They're very strange.
No.
They are very, very strange, the gay Republicans, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'd rather have a gay child. Tell you the truth.
So anyway, but that's where that ends up. That's where a thing. I mean,
Well,
it's bad
Vic
enough
always-
being a Jew and an Italian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we were the outcasts anyway, and we were best friends since 5th grade because he came into my town in 4th grade from the Bronx, and he had this really contrived fake accent that he still carries to this day.
Oh yeah, right.
And I was in the classroom, and the way they paired it, there was like an empty desk next to me because nobody wanted to sit next to the strange Jewish boy. And I see the strange Italian kid. I'm like, hey, you new kid, come here. And he's like, oh, how nice. Everyone wants to talk to me. I'm like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to talk to
Happy
me
was
either.
my first friend. My first friend. It's
Yeah,
still
so it was matzo balls and marinara ever since.
Yeah, matzah, meat. Anyway, I
all I
go
did was fight with people. All I ever did was fight. I never had any friends. I thought that friends was they put you in a headlock and try to smash your head in a wall.
we go to Vic's house after school, and he had a busted up piano in his garage, and he would play any song by ear in 5th grade. And so we were like, I was like, okay, play this Billy Joel song. And he'd be like, and I wrote the song, like, we were playing around, like, Born in the USA, like, we do satire of songs, and we were always, like, hanging out, like, making music and writing, you know, fake songs in middle school. And then he went on to, when did you join the Metropolitan Opera? Was that in 6th grade?
I was around the same time. I was 11 or 12.
Yeah,
because
the
it was around the
music
same
teacher
time
had a
my dad
connection.
made me play football. Oh, it was the same time my dad made me play football.
Yes, he was playing football and singing in the Metropolitan Opera of New York City. Because
Morality.
that's
they
what people
came
know
into
about
school
Vic.
to ask- They came into school to ask if anybody wanted to be in the chorus, and the music teacher was like, you can sing, you go up and sing, you sing. And they made me sing, and they were like, oh yeah, you can do a scale, you sing in tune, cool. If you want to do it, tell your ma, she's got to sign the permission slip. It was cool.
So the Italian side took over for the opera.
I was good. I got to tell you, I liked the opera, and me and my grandmother had a history in opera. We both like to watch opera on TV, so I was totally ready for it. Yeah, I actually liked it.
That's fucking dope. That's man.
Yeah.
Clap. That was dope. Did y'all both go to Ardsley High?
Yeah.
So
We
who
did.
was the Albanian gang there? Like Together Forever or something like that?
Oh my God, the Albanians were all right. They were okay people.
There was an ill Albanian gang that used to go drink behind the fucking bleachers in Ardsley. I worked in Ardsley for a minute and got like all this like hidden history of Ardsley, you know, by some Albanian guy.
Well, Zuckerberg's from Ardsley. I mean, so it's an evil place. We know that. You know?
Yeah. I got fucking meth bust at the Ardsley Hotel now.
Oh. I don't know if I ever went to the Ardsley Hotel. I remember somebody had a party there one time. You've been there, Hap, right?
I think he dropped off, man.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought I saw some Japanese writing. And
He was
that
there
must
when
have been,
he dropped off.
So
that must have been his daughter's account.
So a haiku, and yeah, now it's gone.
That was it. That held sign back on.
Oh man! Or someone's got to send him an invite back.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there it is. There it is. Hold on.
So Omega Jackson, man, you're the mastering guy really liked your side.
Oh wow!
He was like, "Hey, that was a pleasure, man. Vic, thanks for throwing me that work." He's like, "I really enjoyed that," and I was like, "You can always trust the mastering guys because they hear everything."
Oh
you
man!
know? And when my mastering guys give me a compliment, like I made a record a while back with my buddy, and it was this kind of like spoken word meets, with spoken word laced with songs. And he said, "Vic, you haven't given me such a good record in years." And I was like, wow, all those other records you never mentioned, And then he was like, yeah, he's like, this is a good one. But then the Sic and Mad, the Omega Jackson, he was like, dude, he's
Respect.
like, this is cool.
Right? That's why we fuck with you, Omega.
That was probably the biggest compliment I got. I was like, "Yo, the master guy fucks with me." That is fucking. You know,
Yeah.
and he,
At one point, Omega's like, yo, whatever you need, because you roll with some straight up killers. Like, everybody that you fuck with is next level. And what's crazy is, Omega was telling me today, he's like, yeah, my friend knows who Sammy K is. And I'm like, well, that's crazy, because I call both Sammy K and Omega Jackson my little brother, because they're about the same age, and they both kind of like inspired me and Sic MAD at a different point. Like, I think Omega's been down with Sic MAD since our cassette or our first CD, but I met Sammy K when we recorded our second CD when I was living in Japan, and I came back to America, and I went to New Jersey, and Sammy K was Vic's roommate.
Oh, yeah, you met Sammy then. That's right. You were like, hey, who's that weird skinhead kid that lives in the room above the stairs?
Yeah, I was really pissed off because I haven't slept for like 14 hours, and
Yeah.
Vic in his usual fashion, he's like, oh, there's a dirty, like, bed in the corner, here's a blanket that's gross, and everyone's screaming and jumping around next to you. And Sammy K was one of them. I'm like, you fucking asshole. You know how tired I am? And you got these asshole kids jumping. I was so mad at him and Sammy K. And then it was like, for some reason, it was like, he's like Omega. He kept on reappearing. I remember Omega reached out to me when I was in Japan with MySpace. Remember that? He's like, you don't remember me probably. It's been a few years, but you really inspired me. He sent me a fan letter. And I was like, yeah, I remember you, man. I took you to that show, and I made you a vegetarian, and I drove you home.
And I caught the beating. I caught a Joe Jackson worthy beating. Yeah.
And I brought you out you went out to an Agent 99 show at ABC No Rio.
Yeah,
right?
that's when my mother was like, all right, you can start going to shows. Like the first time I saw y'all guys outside of Rock and Rex was the Jimmy Foster tribute show at the gas station.
Oh, shit.
So I went with a bunch of dudes that ended up getting kicked out. And then, you know, I was chilling with Ant from Change and shit. He went and got me a 40. I'm sitting there drinking Ballantine Ale, you know, watching you guys kill it and shit. And then he drove me home. You know, so that was one. So after that, I guess my mother was like, all right, you can start going to the city. So after that, I saw you guys at the Pyramid. And,
oh, wow.
No, not the Pyramid, the Triangle.
The Satan Church?
Was it the Satan Church? It was.
The Limelight.
Nah, it was the Triangle. Spiral, that's it.
Spiral.
From the back, yeah,
Symmetric shape, yeah. I feel you.
Yeah, so
you knew it was a shape. It was a pyramid, or I saw Nina Hagen. Nina Hagen used to hang out at the Pyramid Club.
Oh, man.
And I saw the guy from Bauhaus, Peter Murphy. I saw him hanging out there. He played like an unannounced set.
But Balls was right.
Like, quick.
Balls said there was a lot of creative stuff going on there, and we're like, yeah, but it was also really lame. Like, he said he had to drive an hour and a half to go places. Basically, us too. Even though we were in Lower Westchester with traffic, you're driving about an hour, you know, and then like. You still feel like you're on the other side of the world. Like, there's Manhattan, which is like the Pulse, and then if you are not living, and nobody lived in Manhattan, but later on, me and Vic did, because that was like the 90s. You could afford it with 3 or 4 people.
It was lucky, actually, being in New York around that time. I mean, not to, you know, to go stick only to that time, but I remember being in high school and thinking, like, I could go to the river and you could see the skyline easy. It was very clear. And it was like, what the hell am I doing hanging out with these lame asses up here? Everybody in the world wants to be in Manhattan, and all the things that I fucking want to do are right there. Yeah. And it's literally a 20-minute train ride. You hop on the Metro North.
And that's the big deal. Like, the trains.
No big deal. It was right there. It was bam. And suddenly you were there. And remember, my aunt lived in Stuyvesant Town, and we were right there. We were right there where the Dead Boys and Patti Smith and, you know, and whoever you wanted to know, Lou Reed, they had all talked about right there.
And I think we had parallel experiences, Omega and me and Vic growing up. Like, you jump on a bus or a train and you find yourself in Manhattan, New York City. You go to a show and you wonder how you're getting home, or if you have to wait for the first train the next day, and you're tired and you're scared, and there's these like mean skinheads that might beat you up. But like, there's the experience of a live show. and you see like reggae or ska or punk or hardcore or new wave or whatever it was, or you see like an artsy movie, or you try to make a date with a girl, or you try to be cool and you get like a beer when you're underage, whatever it is, it's like you take a trip to New York City.
There's also I'm sorry. There's a certain beauty of missing that last Metro North and then seeing everyone at that show that's got to go to Westchester. Like Tony's got a good story about being with Paul Bearer from Sheer Terror, waiting for the next train, you know, the 5:45 train.
Yeah, it's a rites of passage.
It is. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Be stranded for the night.
See, it's so funny because we felt, I think, like as a Westchester resident, you felt like a lame ass. It was like, oh man, don't tell anybody that I got to catch the Metro North. I'll just tell them I'm taking the train and not mention it. And then you find out later on that everybody lived in Yonkers and White Plains and like all these punk rockers were living up in Westchester.
And there's an embarrassing stigma being from Westchester to this day. Vic doesn't like to tell people he's from Westchester. He's like, I'm from the Bronx.
It was a horrible place.
You don't want to tell people because you feel like you're soft.
No, I mean, the people in Westchester, they sucked.
Westchester sucked. There was like 5 or 6 punk rockers. We all knew each other.
That's right. There was like of the however many hundreds of kids that I knew.
Like you saw,
I can count them on like one hand.
Yeah, and you see people at like the record stores or at the shows. You're like, oh yeah, you're from Westchester, and you're like, yeah, don't tell anyone. I want them to think I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I can't hide the fact that I'm from the Bronx. Unfortunately, it caused a lot of trouble for me and continues to. Yeah. That I remember when I tried to talk like I was from California because we watched all those California movies like 16 Candles and stuff like that. And I was like, hey man, come on, dude. And I remember trying to be like cover up my accent. And
it was a hard time in the 80s.
It was hard. And then I went to talk on a tape recorder for something. And it was just like that. I was like, hey dude, like it's me, Vic. I'm here talking on a tape recorder. And you know, man, it's like really cool because you know, and I was like, oh, I got like about 1/10 of the California accent. And then all I got to say is, tape recorder, you know, and it's like, and I was like, I sound like such a fucking dumbass. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, I don't even know what to do. My father was always on my ass about my accent. He was always like, told me that it sounded
so Sic MAD grew out of all that angst. And we always wrote so many songs. To this day, I have like, you know, folders, like songs. We would just like write like it was going out of style. And that's why I was excited about Omega, because that's the feeling I got from him. He was always putting out stuff. Every time I check on him, I'm like, oh, you got another thing out. And I think that was that energy. It's like you're always writing songs. You have all this angst and like you're confused about who you are. I think I didn't want people to know I was Jewish. I don't think Vic wanted people to know that he was Italian. Like our parents, they tried to streamline us to be like, you know, be like this white person that we didn't fit in. The fucked up
thing is that, like, it's all the things. It's not that there weren't other Italians, there weren't other Jews around. It's just that, man, I did not want to be associated with the other Italians. They were such hoodlums. It was like, oh my God.
Guidos and I had Japs.
Ah, that word. But also, I mean, both your parents came from that white flight, like coming, you know, going to Westchester, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, they were both from New York, and they wanted to have a better life, but they were both from a very low working class, and they thought that Ardsley, they made it. It was like the promised land.
When did your parents move up, Hap?
I think in 76, I was about 4 or 5. I started in the middle of kindergarten, and I grew up in this town that was very segregated, but I grew up right next to the projects, and that's where all my friends were. And that kind of shaped me as I grew older and got into rap music, because rap paralleled, I used to love equally the rap of the mid-'80s and then the hardcore of the mid-'80s. They were both like really great forms of expression, and I felt as a native New Yorker, I could tap into that energy. It was so pure to me because it was my surroundings.
It's true. The Ardsley projects were for real. They were really fun. They were if you were going to be anywhere in Ardsley, you wanted to be in the PJs, man. That was the spot. The hill was.
Where was the Ardsley projects at?
What's that?
Where were the Ardsley projects at?
Secor Road.
Oh,
right off Sawmill Parkway.
We called it the hill. We didn't call it the projects. Vic says PJs because he's a transplant, but over there it was just called the Hill.
The
Like,
Hill.
stigma of being the project. So everyone's like,
They
yo,
call
we're
it
not in the
PJs
project.
now. That was since I
back
lived in New
then,
Jersey. I heard the
To this
PJs.
day, you just refer to it as the Hill because it's like it was more respectable. But I remember Vic drank his first 40 at the Hill. He liked it so
did.
much, he commenced to drink a second 40 ounce, and then he immediately threw up
And that was the
out
end.
in a van. Do you remember that van? That's probably why you're in a van to this day.
It's very sad moments. Well, please let Balls ask you. It's Balls' show over here, not the happy show, you know. So
My
come on,
bad.
let's hear it. What is Balls?
To be honest with you, man, it's fascinating. I told him in the beginning, I'm just gonna put on my seatbelt and enjoy the ride because, like, from a fan standpoint, man, I'm just like, wow, this is. It's funny hearing you cats talk about that because, like, it was so different me growing up. I didn't have like this. You know, I came from, unfortunately, a very predominantly redneck town, and everybody was very backward thinking, and it sucked, man. The people sucked where I was at, and it was like I think I developed that love for. I think that's how I discovered ska and punk, is like I had that feeling, it gave me that feeling of family and around people that are like-minded and didn't have that bias.
Yeah, punk was a lifesaver. Punk was
What are you gonna say, Omega?
Lifesaver.
Balls, was it like the Dead Milkman or somebody from Pittsburgh?
You know what? I think he is. Actually, I think the lead singer is.
That's Rocky Rex speaking there.
Here we go. Yeah, that's that Tony Pratlick schooler. And then Ween, right? Ain't Ween from Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Ah, there we go.
Are they really?
Yeah. And then rap-wise, y'all got Lone Catalyst, I think.
You had some shit balls. You're exposed.
Yeah, you know, well, dude, if I'm originally from Ellwood City, so if you it's a lot different now, man. Like people are actually normal now, but when I was growing up, it was it was very farm boy, and I'm not even shit, man. When I went to my when I was graduating, people were taking tractors to prom and shit, and there was like,
oh wow,
it was that. So I'm like, and then I had moved there. My parents got married, and they moved me to that hellhole, like grade, and I was listening to like rap and hip hop at the time, and I moved to like the most racist place in the fucking world to possibly move to.
Oh man,
people appreciated my signed by Chuck D and Flav Public Enemy shirt. They just wanted to beat the shit out of me and stuff me in a locker, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change it though, man, because like I said, I discovered the scene, and I wouldn't be the dude I am now. I wouldn't be the.
I agree. I agree though.
On my show right now, right?
being stuck in the suburbs, also amongst that, like I didn't want to see it as small-mindedness because the Bronx, let me tell you, small-minded.
Oh yeah.
I grew up in the most racist neighborhood. I mean, it was like everybody hated each other, everybody, and it was like everybody had a reason. Yeah, draw lines, keep us all separated, and angry at each other. And when I came to Westchester, it seemed like, oh wow, there's Indians, there's Asian people, there's Jews that I was friends with Jewish kids. I'd only heard about them before.
I didn't realize that was different.
Yeah, well, mostly my dad complaining about Jewish people. I'm like, but we don't know any. I was like, what do you mean? My grandfather, on the other hand, always spoke very highly of a rabbi buddy of his. And my grandfather was a different guy. He was the guy that was intellectual and open-minded.
And he Italians.
Yeah, well, he wasn't fully Italian, or not to be, but he was not at all Italian. He was was Peruvian and French, actually. He used to tell me, he'd say, hey, don't tell me about minorities. Who's a Peruvian French guy that you know?
Omega must have had similar experiences,
Exactly. That's why he said, hey, I don't judge anybody. I'm a friend to all. He says, because, you want to talk about minorities? I'm a minority.
But it was fucked up back then. Not being a racist, you were very different. And I think, hanging out with Vic and hanging out with Omega and my friends, we were freaks because they're like, you're not just hanging out with your own kind of people now.
That's right.
You're hanging
Happy
out
was
with
great
him.
for that.
Yeah, I had a good high time.
Because hanging out at the Hill and hanging out, Happy was a good friend maker. So we always made friends. And
well, white people didn't like me.
Yeah, but you were good, man. You got me a lot of people to hang out with, and you introduced me to a lot of cool people. And my inroads hanging out at the Hill were definitely mostly thanks to you. So.
Well, Vic introduced me to, old school racist Italians. For the 4th of July, we'd go over to his uncle's house, and we'd eat like Italian sausages, and they'd let us smoke cigars and shit because they didn't care about kids. Like, yeah, let me tell you about those Munyans over there that you're hanging out with. You know?
Did I play Chase the Movie? Like, that's what I thought you were going to say. Like, Happy put out his Jacquard Memoir, whatever the hell it's called.
Like, hey, hang out with a good Jewish boy. You know, the Jews are not that bad, okay? Vic, hang out with Happy. He'll keep you from getting in trouble. Meanwhile, I was the one getting him in trouble.
That's right.
Hey, Happy.
Yeah.
What's the worst trouble you ever got Vic into?
Well, when Vic thought he was moving away, when we were in high school, he was still going out with Sarah, and I think it was our senior year. It was the summer, and we thought we weren't gonna hang out with each other anymore. So I convinced him to take a little bit of alcohol from all of his parents' bottles because his parents had like a bar, like not a real, like a little 80s bar cabinet. We called it Pirate Punch. So we poured a little bit of everything. We did it once or twice before. And so he had this big soda bottle. It was half of it soda, half of it was like a Long Island tea soda. He got
every alcohol was horrible.
Yeah, we used to hang out at Ferncliff Cemetery because it was near my house. He told his parents that he was going to sleep over my house. He got so drunk, he threw up and he passed out, and I was scared so fucking much because I'm like, Vic's he's sleeping. It was okay for a minute, but it was like a half hour. I'm like, Vic, come on, we gotta go home. It was like 3 a.m. He wouldn't wake. He was like drooling and shit. I have to go home after my parents. I'm like, Vic got drunk. I'm so sorry. He's stupid fucking Italian, and we had to go there. We picked him up. We dragged him home. We put him on the couch in the it was cool for some reason because they didn't know I was so fucked up too. I don't know what it was, but like they didn't know I was drinking
kept you
too.
from being in trouble.
Yeah, it was like, his mom came the next morning. A few hours later, everybody was laughing at Vic drinking coffee the next day. He's like, my head hurts so much.
That was the worst hangover really ever in my life. Honestly, the worst.
Yeah, for 3 days. I kept calling him, are you okay now? Are you better? And nobody cared. It was the 80s. They're like, that's what you get.
Oh, my dad. I mean, I think that was actually it was quite good because it just like, yeah, my dad was trying to move us to Florida at the time, which in retrospect I realized would have just been wow. I mean, if I thought shit was bad in Westchester, Florida was going to be the next level.
And I remember he went to Florida 3 days later and he was still drunk and he told me that he dived in the pool and he named the thermometers like Jerome and Tepid or something. Tepid and Jerome.
Tepid. I almost drowned. Anyway, it was ridiculous. It was really bad.
Yeah, we used to do stupid shit.
But we still hang out. That's what's ridiculous. We still hang out. And the band we started to try to pick up Mimi, turns out we still make records. And it's 2020. And I don't understand what the fuck. Very strange.
That's amazing to me, man. I'm glad you brought that up because that's like not only a testament to your friendship, but like it seems like you make records and then, there's a little hiatus. Like what was the inspiration to get the band back together this time?
Well, it's never gone away.
Yeah.
We always have put out music consistently every time we see each other, unless Vic's tired.
Yeah. Happy moved away to Japan in the late 90s, was it? Early 2000s?
Aki was born in 96 we were living upstate New York, and then we moved to Japan when she was about 2 or 3. So it was like, and I was in Japan during 9/11. I mean, these are big things.
So right around then. And so that basically made the band be.
And so by default, transition, by default, because Sic MAD wasn't playing, Vic's like, what am I going to do with my time? I'll just fuck it, I'll start the Slackers.
Right. Well, like the Slackers took dominance. We were getting really busy around then too, arguably. But it's funny because
really.
We were pretty damn busy. But
got boat trips now and shit. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
the Slackers
that
are
being said,
monsters.
it's funny because, and now Marcus isn't here and Aura isn't here, even though I did invite them.
Oh, good.
Marcus, I have to say, is more suited to be in a band like Sic MAD than he is really to be in a band like the Slackers. I mean,
he's so creative.
He's great in the Slackers, but wow, you put him in a situation like with us, and his creativity is like.
I argue with that because I think Aura is more suited for Sic MAD because he's a rock drummer.
Yeah,
Aura is more of a rock drummer.
Yeah, Aura's nice. Oh man.
Aura's the best drummer in the world.
Like like Chuck Authority, like that the break after.
He's so hard.
Yeah, you're just like, yo, what the fuck? Where this come from? Like,
Aura's the hardest drummer in the world. He could battle anybody and win.
Yeah, he's pretty badass.
That's a guitar. Yeah.
Aura's the ultimate rock drummer. Nobody can out rock Aura. I hope he does this one day. Balls, please make that the quote.
I know. I hope he shows up at the thing.
I hope he hears that this respect, because he was in Agent 99. He was in Leftover Crack. He was in Trick Babies. Every project that he was in, he drove it because he's like the hardest drummer and the sweetest, most sensitive person you'll ever meet in your world. In your life.
He's very, very sweet, very sensitive, and we were all in those bands together. Like, think about like Change, right? Like I was in Change with Aura.
Oh yeah, Change is a good story, Balls.
Yeah, let me segue into that because I remember, Change was going through lineup shit and all this other. Because I was gonna ask y'all sort of had like this like crew. Y'all were bubbling up into like this monster. Like I remember playing with y'all at the cooler and shit, and like there was Change. It was Choking Victim, Bandroids, you guys.
Yeah, that's Wu-Tang. That was our model.
Yeah. And it was, like later on, I started seeing Change in, Ant would talk about Change all the time. K-Strong would lightly drop, we're going to blow up. Ant was more like the, talkative one about it. And then
Special Potato.
Yeah. Then I remember their Wetlands show, and it was like, oh shit, these motherfuckers is monsters.
It was badass.
Somebody was going to blow, and it was just the Slackers did it because they deserved it the most. But all bands had an equal shot. Yeah. Everyone was so fucking hard.
If those other bands would have taken things more seriously, I would have probably been playing with a successful band because Change later on. Bands
so good.
Like, what was that? What was that rap rock band that happened after that Florida band?
Rage Against the Machine.
Well, but bands like
Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, Limp Bizkit. But bands like that became the norm.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, in New York, we were doing that. We already had punk rap. I mean,
nobody was harder than Change. Change was the hardest crossover rap metal band you've ever heard in your life because
they had the chemistry. Like their chemistry was fucking ill.
It was fantastic. And then I remember when I got asked to leave because the original bass player, Shandor, he came back. And then when I left, Aura quit because he was like, "Well, I like playing with Vic, and fuck it."
Simultaneously,
that's what he told me.
Seven All-Stars dropped. 95. Tower Records. Jeff Baker signed the deal, and he did a crossover song with Rancid that got him Beavis and Butthead Do America, and he cycled the money back into his recording practice space on, was it 3rd Street?
Yeah, 3rd Street.
Version City, and that bubbled up the chemistry, and that made like Stubborn All-Stars, and like so all these dudes come to town like Rancid, Beastie Boys, Horde Tour, and then we also have Blues Traveler and Spin Doctors blowing up out of the same places that we went to, like Space of Chase and like Nightingale.
Yeah, we all played the same ones. The thing is that nobody knew where things were going. So it was like, okay, so I play in Change, which is a punk rap group. I play with the Slackers, which hadn't quite figured out what it was doing yet because we still had rappers come and sit in. Remember, all your buddies and our buddies would come and sit at Rocksteady Poo.
And that was when Dave came in, and it split because like you were going in different directions, and everyone
tried to get rootsy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was also like choices that were made. And if we backpedal a little bit, the Slackers came out when I think the Rabies broke up, Me and Vic were always best friends. We both went to New York City at the same time. I went to School of Visual Arts. He went to NYU. When he was in NYU, he joined a band called the Rabies, where he met Luis, the original drummer of the Slackers. So Vic
That's right.
and Vic were in the Rabies. When the Rabies broke up, Vic took Luis, and then he took Marcus from Sick Mad, and they started a trio called the Slackers. And for the first 2 years, I was the personal manager of the Slackers.
That's right, personal manager.
Yeah, I don't want to be
Not
the full
the band
manager
manager,
because they're such assholes. And I would give them gigs at my school, School of Visual Arts.
That's
And
right.
I
The first Slackers shows were at the School of Visual Arts with bands like Mephistopheles and the Scofflaws. And,
yeah, because Andre from Mephistopheles also went to School of Visual Arts.
Yeah, and Choking Victim played there. Remember certain gigs? Like I
Yeah,
think
because
Choking
we
Victim
knew,
played.
because Dania, she started up Agent 99, and she had a connection because her bass player Alec was also in Choking Victim, and so like things were like growing at the same going in different directions.
But the thing was, and I think the thing just to point out is that although I am dedicated to the rootsy sound of ska and reggae because I fell in love with it then, and I decided I had something to offer. The bands I was playing in could have taken dominance, and if somebody had said, "Oh, we're going to take change really seriously and go on the road," I would have been on the road with a rap punk band, and that would have been fine with me. I loved that band. I had a fun time playing in that band, and same thing with Sick Mad.
Even Agent 99, they were such a good band. And then we also had our friends that were in like Mephistopheles and Home. And then our friend Jeff Baker, who was doing like Skinner Box. And he also supported the first 2 Sick Mad CDs. And back then, having a CD with a barcode was like a big deal.
Yeah.
I remember Sick Mad at Tower. Like at, not Manhattan Tower, fucking Broadway Tower and shit. And they're like, oh shit. This the blue cover, the first joint.
Yes. 23 Blues was in Tower?
That's it, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, both Yonkers Tower, all towers, well, in New York.
I remember that Stubborn All-Stars had a poster hanging on the side of Tower Records
Manhattan.
Broadway.
Yeah, they blew the fuck up.
That was the biggest deal that anybody could ever have thought. It was like, oh my God, we're in the window of Tower. Like we made it. And little did we know, we didn't make anything. The band fell apart a year later because guess what? Nobody wanted to book. Jeff decided not to book any more gigs, and the Slackers booked a bunch of gigs. Now the Slackers, made it.
The Slackers
made it.
You guys followed the DIY punk rock model. Like the Slackers were punk rock as fuck because I remember the first few out of town gigs, and this is funny because during COVID I posted these old videos. The first time Slackers went out of town was probably Long Island, open up for the Scofflaws, or then Boston, where we met Jeremy Mushlin for the Allstonians.
It was Boston. That was our first out of town trip. Was that Boston show that you posted, actually?
I thought it was Allstone. No, I thought it was when you went to Long Island opening up for the Scofflaws.
That was pre-Slackers. That was the Rabies still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was pissed off.
But you see this? Yeah, you were pissed off. Well, Happy had this thing where Happy never liked to stay out late. He's a morning person.
No, I never like to get disrespected. And
that too. But Happy likes to wake up early, and he doesn't like to go to sleep late. So when we go down to a show like at the Ritz or CB's or something,
and you open up for a band, and they make you wait until they're over, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're not paying you because they want to talk to their friends. And then finally, it's like
the lead band wouldn't be on yet. It would be like, oh, we're still waiting for so and so to go on. Pussy Galore just went on, and Happy be like, yo. The ride back to Westchester's leaving now.
That's what I was thinking. I didn't get that last 50 train.
Now, when you're driving, you get tired, though.
I'm not chilling with Paul Bearer and Tony.
Yeah, I'd be like, this is the whole fucking reason we came. And Happy be like, yo, you come now?
Suddenly, 2 o'clock in the morning, they didn't have energy drinks in the 80s. You're fucking tired. You're like, shit, it's 2 in the morning. I'm driving. He's sleeping. You pissed off.
Well, I was drunk. It doesn't matter. I mean,
he didn't care.
You had to drive. Happy was a pothead. I was a drinker.
No,
so I was
Vic was sleeping. I was driving. I was the responsible one. He didn't care. He was like, footloose and
Happy he is the responsible one.
I
So
was.
then I ended up with Chris Jackson
Yeah.
waiting for the train at 5 a.m.
Yeah, with Paul Bearer, Cody, and
hallucinating.
Yeah.
Not caring.
I probably drank all my parents' liquor cabinet too at that time. So
Exactly.
We were some extreme dudes.
The van I'm in right now, like Happy said it, I'm in the van right now. This is when we hang out with Kevin Seconds from 7 Seconds. I thank him. I say, thank you guys. Thank Minor Threat. Thank all the guys that went on the road.
They inspire you.
Remember that movie back in the day? What was it? Another State of Mind? You know.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Book Your Own Fucking Life.
Yeah.
That was the thing they put out. Remember?
Maximum Rock and Roll.
Yeah, Maximum Rock and Roll. Book Your Own Fucking Life. I'm still booking my own fucking life.
I used to sit in gym class with Book Your Own Fucking Life and a fucking pencil with my man that was on the same punk rock mind state and just circle places I wanted to play and then try to call them afterward and shit and then try to get the lodging and food option, you know,
exactly.
from that shit.
Isn't that cool?
I want to do the rap version of that. Like on my site, I have the shit called the Vegan Chitlin Circuit, which is like hookups, you know, based on, you know, the fucking Book Your Own Life, you know, where you call someone and they get you a show, you know, and you pack in a station wagon and go do that show. You know,
but it's true, you know, and comedians do it too. I hear about comedians do it.
Yeah,
they'll all hop in a car and drive somewhere, and they know comedians in Louisville, Kentucky, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go out and do shows all week in Louisville." And I'm like, "Wow, great! You guys are punk.
Yeah,
you're punks just like we're punks."
I bet Hannibal Buress doing that. Yeah, he just showed up.
It's so full circle because we're still doing it. I mean, this cassette we just put out was such original formula. We got together with our mentor, Tony, and we're like, you put in half, I'll put in half, you put in your part. Let's like record it, let's master it, let's like produce it. It was cool because I had time and I was bothering Omega and Vic simultaneously. I'm like, come on, Omega, you said you were going to do this. When are you going to do it? And then he's like, oh, Tony said I could have another few weeks. I'm like, man, fuck Tony. So I'm like, Tony, why'd you tell him that? He's like, because he needs some time. He's a kid. I'm like, nah, he needs to be motivated. And then I go back to Vic. I'm like, Vic, can you accept? And so I was going back and forth between these two guys trying to get this tape out the whole summer. And it came out. I feel so relaxed now. I'm like, it's over. I did it fine.
Now you know what it feels like, man. Constant stress putting records out.
So me and Vic got an album coming out called Fuck Happy. Put it out next week. It's you know, Balls, you can do a drop, you know.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally down for that, man.
Yeah,
ready.
Balls.
All right, I'm gonna team up with Mike Tyson.
Happy's got the music. He's got the music industry on lock, man. He's like,
Yo,
I need you to put this out. Yo, Tony, I need you to help me put this out. Yo, this guy, yo, that guy.
It's a collaboration, most definitely. Like, you know,
he's an A&R guy, Happy. He's got it in his, you know, he's got it in his blood. You
but
want to be an A&R guy.
If you listen to the continuum of the tape, it has such this flow from the Sic and Mad side to the last song of the Omega Jackson side. There's this journey, and there's this like thing I always wanted to do that I feel so satisfied that I did a collaboration with Omega finally. Because I'm like, you know, I'd love to do a track with this dude. I'd love to, and I've been using his music for years because I used to do what's called digital storytelling in my district, making these educational videos. He gave me these beats, and they used to tell us to use this system called Ben Sounds, this really lame instrumental background music, and I hated it. I'm like, man, I need something behind these videos, and so I was using instrumentals for years for like, you know, educational videos, and so to team up and do this is so fun for me.
Here's another Tony Pratlick shout out. Like, Tony had a post on Craigslist and on Facebook. He's like, yo, I'm getting rid of these records. He was like, $150. I said, Tony.
I remember that.
I said, Tony, I'll give you $100. He said, where you at? Gave him my address. Shows up in a fucking station wagon. I lived on the 4th floor in the illest Yonkers neighborhood that's been on 4 documentaries for drug dealing. And he's like, yo, all you gotta do is haul these crates. Fuck the money. I'm like, I bet. I haul a station wagon full of crates. I gave Tony a hoodie and a shirt I had out, and then I look at all these records. It turns out it's the Rock and Rex Jazz and Soul collection.
Wow. Is that what you used?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. This is a day before I met my wife. And I'm
Your side, it's like Paul's Boutique.
Yeah.
that's what oh, someone dropped out. Hello.
His side was like Paul's
Yeah.
Boutique.
Hey.
Yeah. I mean, yo, this literally there's 20 songs that should have been on that tape, and I had to milk it down to 2. I'm sorry, I had to milk it down to 5.
We're dope.
You always need more shit, you know. It never hurts to have more.
Always.
Thank God with this Bandcamp and stuff like that. Now we can put stuff up. You
No,
know,
Vic,
we
Vic,
can
like,
publish our own music now. This is great.
Vic,
We've been
you're like
waiting for
Warren Bandcamp. Like you got so much Bandcamp shit up.
I was just gonna say it, man. Almost every day, I'm getting something off of their new. Like, I fucking love it, man. But
He dropped something really fly.
Yeah, Vic kills it on fucking Bandcamp, man.
yeah, absolutely.
I need to peep game. Like I need to learn something. Vic, what's up with your project with homegirl from Tacoma?
Oh, she's cool. That was who was sitting over here.
Oh, word.
I just love to work with people. So I always, if somebody's got some idea, I'm down to try it. You know, it's like, hey, want to do some songs together? I'm like, yeah, that's my answer. Yes. You know,
most of my shit is from most of the people that buy my shit are in Washington.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I lived in Washington for a year, moved back, and then like heads out there hurting me. I've probably played in Washington about 8 times since moving back to New York.
What part of Washington?
Huh?
What part of Washington?
Spokane and Seattle. Well, I lived in Seattle, but like,
Spokane is wild.
Yeah, Spokane.
Weird place. Very weird place.
Yeah, very, very.
It's great because everyone is so productive. Because when Sic MAD and Omega Jackson did the cassette, I was like really careful because the last thing I ever want to do is take money from my friends, and which is so crazy because it's all splintering now. So like after the cassette, Omega puts out his side plus 1 or 2 songs, and Sic MAD, we have another project from the cassette, 1 or 2 songs. We're going to do a 10-inch.
Yeah.
And he released his stuff already on Bandcamp, right?
I put a couple of things up on Bandcamp of Sic MAD. The one that
I'm talking about Omega, Vic, not you.
Oh, what was the question again?
After the Sic MAD tape, you released your side plus 1 or 2 songs, right?
Yeah.
That's your own stuff.
Yeah.
And then after the Sic MAD Still Vexed, we put out a 10-inch with Sammy K that's coming out that we sold out already.
Oh, wow. I did not know that part. I know you said you had coming out, but I didn't know that.
Sammy said he might show up. Sammy got the day wrong. He might sign in, so keep an eye out, fam.
That'd be dope.
But yeah, we're coming out with a 10-inch, right, Vic? Pause.
Sammy is helping us put out a very short release. It's like literally like 50 or something. And it includes the song that's on Bandcamp. This is Why I'm Fat.
Sammy K? I'd like to introduce you to Omega Jackson.
Please, I heard you're like, how you doing, Chief?
What's happening?
Sammy's here. Cool.
We were just talking about you.
I thought this was Sunday.
It is.
I like made a note and wrote down for Sunday, and I was like,
"Is today
Sunday?"
Sunday.
No, it was today, and then Vic's like, "No, I can't do today," and he's like, "Oh, I can't do today," and I'm like, "I don't care," and then Sammy's like, "I don't care, but I gotta leave at a certain time," and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, Vic's like, "Oh, I can't do today," I'm like, "I don't care," and then we're just like, "All right, let's just try it," but we were just talking about the 10-inch.
Hey, yo.
Yes.
We got Sammy.
Yo, Sammy, I got to get this out the way. My brother Joe loves your shit.
Who's that?
My brother Joe loves your shit. We text here and there, and then I get this text out of nowhere. He's like, "Yo, you work this dude Sammy K," and I was like, you know, I did the backlog of like, you know, who's on this album, and I was like, "Oh shit, yeah." He's like, "Yo, that's my man. That is my man. I'm gonna hit you up for shit for him. That's my brother." He didn't even come at me for the shit that we put out. You know, normally I get feedback from him about the shit I made. This motherfucker went straight for I fucking can't.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Here we go, man.
Sammy K, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm here.
You and Omega are the only ones I call little brother.
We're siblings.
I don't call anybody else little brother except Omega. How old are you?
41, 42 in October.
How about you, Sammy?
I'm 31.
God,
Oh, Sammy, so lucky. You bastard.
my brother's a year younger than you, and he fucks with you.
My little brothers.
That rules.
Oh,
Omega,
you
hit me up,
guys.
and I'll send a package out to him. All right.
Oh, Beth, thank you.
Hey,
Yeah,
so
man,
let's
no
give
sweat.
it up. I want to give it up to Sammy because Sammy was the guy who on this recording session was like, hey, let's put chains in a bucket
He
and
did.
shake them around for percussion sounds. And it was like, wow, you
And
really have just, you brought the weirdness. You did it. You brought the weird.
I like the weird.
And they were screaming, they're like, meow, 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 meow. You know,
Yeah.
Sammy K and Vic, they have this chemistry, and I know Omega was feeling that cat vibe, so we're just like, we were just bugging. We were laughing. So much fun.
Oh,
Oh my
this
God, my cat is on
this
Prozac.
podcast.
Another one.
Oh,
Fantastic.
that's my joint. That's my joint.
We have to give it to Sammy K. Sammy K.
I
was
just wanted
really-
to make everybody sing like cats as much as possible on this record.
Yeah. You get
It
more
happened like
MVP
3 times.
on-
There's like 3 songs with the meows.
Now, a song called Punk Rock Papa, and Sammy's like, oh, let's do a Dead Kennedys riff. And I'm like, fuck yeah! And me and Vic are like, yeah, Dead Kennedys, because that was our shit, because we grew up out of the record stores. Like,
Totally.
you know, Rocking Rex had put this shit out. So we're just like, we were so in the zone together.
Anybody says, let's do it Dead Kennedy style, I am like, yes.
Always.
You know?
Yeah.
Game over.
That was fun.
Dude,
We-
that was
we
great.
had a
I mean,
lot of fun.
You basically joined, you joined Sick and Mad. You were like, oh, I'm in. And that's how people get in Sick and Mad. They're like, I'm in this shit. And you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I guess
Let's
you're
just
right.
get fucking weird.
The cult of Vic and Happy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just along for the ride, man.
Well, let's talk about Vic and Sammy's relationship, which is really interesting.
Yeah, let me hear that. Let me-
Happy, have you ever thought of being like the new Merv Griffin? Like, you are really good.
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
Jewish. He's Jewish. Balls looks kind of Jewish. Omega not so much. Vic definitely not.
Pause. I got you and me, but I don't bring out that side. But yeah,
I know.
There's a Jew slave master somewhere that got raped.
Nah, we don't roll like that. We were slaves together.
Mhm.
That's right. Me, I don't know what. Italians, we were just a bunch of jerks. I'm sorry.
But y'all got the more. There's probably some more.
No, but really, Vic and Sammy have this kind of like long history of like, you know, like the way I think me and Omega had a history of being kind of like this older, kind of like younger, kind of like, you know, people listening to music, hanging out together.
Well,
You're just running around setting up a fight club. Like, that's what it sounds like. Sammy's 10 years younger than me, so it's like, in Batman terms, I was Dick Grayson. This motherfucker was fucking, Jason Terry or something.
No, Vic inspired Sammy, right, Sammy? I remember you when we did our second Sick and Mad record when you were his roommate. You must have been like 17 then, right?
Yeah, I moved into Townsend Street when I was 17.
That's when I met you.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I think I met Omega when he was about 17.
I was like 14.
14?
We had a
Yeah,
discussion.
I'm on
at
some
the house.
Somalian soldier shit, like with y'all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's
No,
it. Yeah.
We had a discussion at the house if Sammy seemed like a trustworthy character, and everybody said, yeah, Sammy seems trustworthy. He seems cool. We're like, he's a little young, but he seems trustworthy, so let him move in. He needs to play a nice
wasn't
safe
trustworthy.
house. Let him live with us.
I was
And
still in high school. Like the last 2 months of high school, I was driving to school and back every day from New Brunswick.
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was like young.
Yeah, Sam, you ever played a cup in New Brunswick?
No, that's way before my time.
Oh, all right.
We did the basement shows and the court. That was like the only venues that was there.
It's like a torch. that's like, it was handed to me and Vic from this guy Tony, and it's like, you know, we're holding it, we're passing it back and forth to other dudes. You know, Omega got it, Sammy got it, they're giving it back to us, we're feeding off each other, and we're moving, because there's like music, and there's like, you know, these underground scene that's all around us in this, like, you know, perimeter of New York.
It's
Going
like
from New Jersey and Yonkers.
I can hop off.
That's the ticket.
Did I make it awkward?
Nah, Vic's doing a drug deal right now. No.
Yeah, right. Let me get 2 cheeseburgers, a large fry, and a strawberry milkshake.
You want to say hi? No? You
No,
can.
she's shy.
Okay.
Vic's doing trafficking right now.
No. Lauren's the best. Talk about your new release. Everyone got something coming out. Sammy got more stuff coming out. Omega got more stuff coming out. Vic got more stuff coming out. I got to go back to school and get COVID.
Yeah,
Me,
don't
game
go back
over.
to school.
Don't go back.
That
to
makes
school.
2 of us.
It's not wise.
Is that Lauren? Can I say hi?
Hi.
Lauren, I like your new single that came out today. It was so
Yeah, that was
beautiful.
dope.
Thank you, Happy.
Lauren,
Yeah,
please say
he's
hi
all
to
good, dude.
Chris, also known as Omega. He's a big fan.
Hello, Chris Omega.
Hi. How you doing, Lauren? We're
It's nice
plotting.
to see you in a technological box.
We're plotting Happy's post-COVID album. The
Oh
typical
God,
meal.
please help us. Don't go back to school, Happy.
Yeah, don't
In
go back to
Tennessee,
school.
they have
Benefit
more
record
cases
for
than
me.
anywhere, like next to Florida.
Do a collaboration benefit, like keep Happy out of school. Because Happy's going to die. He's a
Is
teacher.
it done? Is everything? Oh, it's done. Okay. Hey, you guys, I gotta split, man. I gotta get this. I gotta get it together over here. I just got my trailer welded, the frame back together. So I might have to run. So.
All right.
And Lauren has
Call her
been
later.
patiently waiting over here amidst spiders. Amidst the
Lauren, I love you.
spider-filled Washington State. It's been
Put
insane.
Lauren back on.
Yeah, she's got. I gotta go. I gotta go pay
Lauren.
the welder.
Peace and love.
Walls, I love you.
Well,
Sandy.
tell Lauren I love her too. I love her, man. I love you
Shut up,
guys
dog.
together.
Yeah, we're
Lauren.
excited. I'm excited. We're making some really cool music together now. We're verging on the next. We're getting into the next phase.
Oh, yeah, she's
And,
on the Film Noir joint, Omega.
Oh, word.
Yeah. All right. Let me run.
All
If
right.
you guys want to do this again, or if you don't have enough stuff balls, you just let me know. But I think Happy's gonna keep you, fill up the cup.
Well, it's Sammy's turn. Fuck
Thanks,
you,
brother.
Vic.
It's nice talking to
I
you.
love you guys.
Love you too,
I don't
brother.
Love you too.
I love Lauren. I don't love Vic. Lauren's a sweetheart. She's a doll. They came out with a joint today. It was so beautiful.
Super talented, man. Love it.
Can we talk about Sammy K for a minute?
I
He's
think
like,
Yeah, what's up, family? What?
Sammy, you guys are coming out with a lot of stuff. You're putting out a new Sic MAD 10-inch.
You
You
wanna
got
talk?
some. Yeah.
I
You
thought
got
Sammy
some-
bounced.
Nah, he's like bouncing.
I'm here.
Oh, word. All right, nice. I thought someone said Sammy bounced. All right, sorry.
Sammy's coming out with a collection of vinyl, and he's doing limited edition vinyl releases. So we came out with the Sic MAD Omega Jackson collaboration, and he's like, "Oh man, this shit is so dope," because he was on it, and he's like, "We should put this out as like, what do you call that? A lathe? I don't know what a lathe is. To me, a lathe is like I don't even know.
It's the same concept as like a lathe, like a wood lathe. It's a record needle that has a diamond cutter, and you just drop it on a disc, and it cuts the dub plate.
So you're doing limited edition lathe
Yeah.
vinyl releases of like somewhere between, what is it, 25 to 50? It's a limited edition batch with stamps, right?
Yes, small runs with jackets and labels and the whole nine.
It's so DIY.
Yeah, everybody's off the road and we're all broke. So there's one way to pay the bills, and that's to put out records.
Yeah, so you put together a limited edition run, and you're offering a very reasonable price of like $20. Does it come with a download
Yes.
card, or you're still working on it?
They come with download cards. Depends on the record. I mean, download cards in my eyes are useless because everybody has Spotify or Apple Music. Like, nobody's really down. Like, the last record we put out, we moved 700-ish, and 42 people use the download card. So, like, download cards are kind of hit and miss these days, you know?
Yeah, because you could stream it or you can download it for free anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the world's a streaming game now, you know? We rent our music. We don't own it, you know?
And the companies will never pay us. And it's so full circle because that's why we got into alternative music anyway, because the major labels are nothing but fucking vampires and thieves. So it's like you have all these punk rockers that come out and they put out their own shit, and all of a sudden it's 2020 and shit, we got control again. And people think I'll just put out a digital direct download and I'll get like, you know, paid. And it's good promotion. But what you got to do is you got to put out physical product or you got to tour. And that's what's great about Sammy K and Vic, because they're road dogs. And
I am retired. I am off the road. I do not ever want to go on tour again.
Now.
No, just in general. I'm over it.
Why? What happened? You used to love the road.
I spent 10 years doing 250 to 300 shows a year. Like, I'm perfectly happy living at home and working a straight job now.
Oh, wow. I said I'm in the same boat with less people, but like I still feel like you know, I get the bug here and there. You know.
Yeah. If I could just put out records for the rest of my life and never play a show, I'd be stoked.
It's weird because Sammy K and Omega Jackson are so parallel because you both are both like introvert extroverts. You know what I mean? I think you both will be so comfortable in your room, nobody talking to you, or you talking to a room full of people, you know, on the other side of the world.
It's like we love people, but we hate people at the same time. Yeah.
No, I mean, my thing is it's attention-seeking behaviors, right? Going on tour is like, yeah, let's fuel my mind to fucking, you know, to feel good about life, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I always like to hear how other cats are doing shit. Like, you know, I'm in this bumblefuck town. You're a bumblefuck rapper. How do you get out to such and such? And, you know, I either get a big ass ego because they've opened up for such and such names, or I get, you know, the opening act that has all these ideas. You know, like, all right, yeah, we're gonna open an act, but you know, I want to do this that way, and you know, you get something done that way and shit. You know, so it's sort of it's a mixed blend. You know.
Yeah, it's totally a mixed bag. You know, the road is a weird thing. You can play to 100 people one night and then play to the bartender the next. You know.
Yes, exactly.
There was runs that we were on bigger tours supporting, and we were playing to like 2,000 kids, and then like we'd have a Tuesday off day, we pick we play in Saskatoon, Canada, and it's like 10 people are there, you know. It's a weird thing. That's like my thing about the road, really, is like
never know.
You never know, man. You know, it's just, I got bills to pay. I got a good job here at home now. I got this cool thing with these records that we're doing, and we have a vintage clothing store too.
Ooh.
Like, I got stuff to do, you know?
Yeah, you got at-home shit to do, yeah.
But yeah, Sammy K and Omega Jackson, you two are both very good musicians that write very catchy songs on very different ends of the spectrum, being fed by very similar influences.
Yeah, most definitely, right? I see you in a Cro-Mag shirt over there. That's my shit.
I see my man, you know, my brother sitting there pouring his heart out about you and shit. You know, like it got, you know, normally I get feedback about my shit. My man was all about the Sammy K shit, you know.
Yeah, that's happy for you, man.
You know, not you. You know, my man was like, yo, I listen to him going to work every day. I was like, oh shit, like this is, you know, that's.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. You know, a lot of folks really like the records we made. And it's not like there's not gonna be any more records, you know. I'm in the studio a couple days a week now working, you know, just stockpiling.
There you go. There you go.
Everybody's working, it seems. Everybody's very fueled by the present climate of society. There's so much stuff happening. And what's funny is I feel like my stuff is always dated. At any given point, my stuff is X amount of years old because the Sick and Mad side came out. It's a culmination of 3 different summers that I had off from work starting 4 years back. I went to New Jersey. I met up with my friends from like the Slackers, and we met with their sound engineer, and Sammy K came around, and we produced a few songs, went back 2 more times, and then we shaped it into what came out to this cassette.
Happy, you gotta see when I say I'm doing something with Sick and Mad, you gotta see people's light up. You gotta see eyes light up when I tell them I'm doing shit with Sick and Mad.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm dead ass. It's very take a step back. Oh shit. It's a very fucking oh shit. I let a few people know because I didn't want to jinx it, but the people know were yo, yeah.
Because we're mad underground, because Vic is actually the man. Vic blew up with the Slackers, and Vic is so dope. And Sammy's so dope, Omega's so dope, but Vic is probably the most productive musician in the world.
Nah, but I think I gotta say, I think you're the front man. You're the representation.
Sick and Mad?
Yeah, you're Rakim. Vic is Eric
analogy. Because Eric B is dope.
Yeah, Eric B is the president. But you're Rakim, So this I guess the time, I don't know about younger heads, but the sector that I know, when I'm yo, I got this project with Sick and Mad, they're oh shit, and it's probably more collective more than anything else and stuff, but it's still it brought heads yo,
Well, Sick and Mad is like an underground legend because people, we did shows regularly for many years, but very few and far between because we decided at an early part in our career that the Slackers had the spark, and Sick and Mad was going to take a way back seat because the Slackers took the bass player, the Slackers took the drummer, the Slackers took the guitar player, the Slackers took the energy of me. I propelled the Slackers by supporting them with all of my heart and soul. I gave them every opportunity. If there was a show that came up, I was there early to make sure they were coming there. And this was before we had cell phones. I was kind of I called it the personal manager because I went behind the scenes and I introduced people in the Slackers to each other, like Dave Hilliard, who really propelled the Slackers to the next level. They met him because I went to school of visual arts and his girlfriend went to school of visual arts. This really cute black girl wearing this plaid skirt. And I'm she's in the sky. And I had some Slacker, quarter sheet Xeroxes in my cargo shorts, which were cool back then. Now they're dad shorts. But back then I'm yeah, I got, my friend's flyer and I gave it to her. And she's oh, cool. My boyfriend's into ska. I'm okay, you got a boyfriend. And she's yeah, he was playing the saxophone in Hepcat. And I'm oh, shit, I heard of Hepcat. And she's yeah, he's looking for a band to join. And I was all right, well, listen, they don't have a horn section. When I was working with the Slackers, it was 2 guitar players. It was Vic and it was TJ and Marcus. He doubled up on the bass. They had this really heavy guitar kind of mod punk sound because it was an outgrowth of Sick and Mad, making it more smooth. Vic writing more complicated songs that I couldn't handle. And it was funny because he took one of those songs and he did it with Tim Armstrong from Rancid Policeman. He gave it to me and I was Vic, I don't know how to follow the song. He's fuck it, I'll do it myself. And then a few years later he gave it to Tim.
Oh, wow. Now Tim's writing songs for Vic and,
Vic and Tim wrote about 100 songs together that have never been released.
I have a Tim Armstrong guitar. I have 2 Tim Armstrong guitars, matter of fact. But yeah, which is small world. But
what's that? The Gretsch hollow body in the
I got the Gretsch and I got the fucking the Hellcat.
Yeah.
Because he's a lefty and I'm a lefty, so they sort of made a dope lefty guitar. And shit.
Yeah. Hey, hold on, I gotta buy a deck of smokes.
There you go. But Happy, you had there was a period. I'd say there was a 5 to 6 year period where you motherfuckers was on it. You know, you had a dope run. You know, you had, you know, you got half of Japan that does fucking, you know, fucking dance hall shit on stage. You know, you got motherfucking Breeze Everflowing on stage. You got Roxy Pool on stage. You know, y'all were a machine for a second. You know,
I got some dope friends.
yeah.
Thank you.
Roxanne Poo was the dude that did those the C Squat show with us, right?
I think that was K Strong did C Squad. Rockstar Pooh has been on most of Sick and Mad stuff. He's from Washington Heights. He's Dominican. He's on a song Breeze Everflowing. Only Omega Jackson knows these things. Breeze Everflowing has these freestyle king titles. Papa B,
He's a legend. Breeze is a New York freestyle rap legend.
he is.
Yeah, like Breeze is, you know, he's definitely your favorite rapper's favorite rapper.
On the low.
Not even a low. Like I've heard Immortal Technique is fucking praise Breeze, you know, beyond any like I've heard Immortal Technique on Joe Rogan talking about fucking Breeze Everflow. You know, Breeze
I went to school of visual arts, and I met Breeze Everflowing. I met Kevin McCarthy, who does all of the Sick and Mad art, which is dope as hell.
Kevin's sick.
And when the Slackers first came out, they had the best artwork, which is why the Slackers blew up, because I always gave them the best artists. They had this guy named Chris Jordan, and I was down with this kid named Matt Dew, rest in peace, who went on to do, you know, more famous rappers. He did a classic, Organized Confusion, Stress the Extinction Agenda. So people I knew went on to do
I'm pretty sure I
legendary
wasn't
products.
even born then.
Oh no, you wasn't. You
You were
30,
born. I think you were like
killing.
you were listening to Fugazi and shit. You
All
were
right,
trying to
Grandpa.
find yourself.
I still
Okay,
fucking
boomer.
Yeah,
All right, intern for Stubborn Records in New Jersey.
Oh no.
Open the door. Open
My
that
bad.
door wide.
But I watched Sammy K as I watched Omega Jackson blossom into like mature men they are today. I knew both of these young men since they were teenagers, and I seen them. You just like check out music and make their own music and support my music, and it's a beautiful thing. Seeing I have a release with everybody on it, so you know this cassette, it warms my heart, and now it's splintered. Omega's doing his own stuff after it, and now I'm doing, you know, a lathe cut with Sammy K that already sold out from it.
I need a lace cut with Sammy K.
Maybe you're next.
All right, maybe we'll do that Fuck Happy album.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm in.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to Vic. He'll probably join you.
Oh, he'll probably be the first one.
Sane and happy. That's the name of the band. Sane and happy.
Vic breaks out them old bars when y'all had a crew, them MC Juice bars.
Oh, man. Yeah. It was the AY Posse because we grew up in Ardsley, and over at the Hill, they called themselves AY Posse. And yeah, I had a song called Ardsley Cop, my first song, and Vic had a song called Great Babe. One of his first songs was about his little sister named Jessica. I wish he was here. I'll do a song for him. It was like, Jessica, pick up my papers, please. Jessica, pick up my papers.
They're happy.
Yeah.
Can we build on Jimmy Foster for a second?
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
We had a mentor growing up. I don't know if anybody's ever read The Beats, like On the Road by Jack Kerouac. Like that inspired me and Vic later on. But growing up, we had an older friend named Jimmy Foster. He was a skinhead kid that had tattoos that like he ran away and he went to California and he came back and he tattooed all of us a My Crazy Life thing on our hand right over here. We got these 3 dots, and he was like down with that Tony Rocky Rex alternative thing. He was like a skinhead, but he was also into rap, and he was like, he drove us and he showed us all of these like shows. And I think a lot of people have these older mentors that were just kind of stupid crazy that died at a young age because they just lived too fast and died too young.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Jimmy was like not even like Rocket Rex was East Yonkers. Jimmy was sort of like a West Yonkers legend. You know, you had this weird dude that would have like Gigi Allen stay at his house and shit and talk to you about punk rock when you had like whatever, you know, your up and coming, you know, baby punk rock steps. There was this dude in West Yonkers in the hood, you know, telling you about punk rock shit, you know, and that was Jimmy Foster. You know, one of my good friends, Melissa, lived downstairs from Jimmy Foster. So she would go downstairs and get these drops of knowledge and, you know, fucking like, yo, you ever heard of the Mentors or, you know, shit like that. And,
yeah.
You know, and that was all Jimmy Foster, you know.
I think we all had older friends that were listening to crazy music that put us on to crazy stuff. And it was funny because I tell some people that Sammy K is the bastard child of two of my best friends, Vic Ruggiero and Jeff Baker, because I know Sammy K went back and forth in New Jersey growing up. He spent time with Stubborn Records, and Stubborn Records put out the first two Sic MAD records. And I did a lot of songs with Jeff Baker. And I seen Sammy K in Knoxville when I first moved here about 15 years ago when he was doing
that was about 14 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That was one of the tours, Sammy?
Yeah, that was like one of the first runs I did, I think.
Yeah, about 14 years ago. And then, like, you know, I don't know, over the years, I just would see Sammy K and Omega Jackson like every 2 or 3 years. Sammy K also did the merchandise for the Slackers, and I saw him a couple of years after that. And it was funny because Sammy was a name that would be like dropped a lot. I would talk to Jeff Baker, I would talk to Vic, and they would be like, oh yeah, Sammy is here, and he says hi. And I'm like, who's Sammy? And like, you remember this kid that was at the last show? And I'm like, oh yeah, Sammy, what's he doing? And like, oh, he's hanging out, he's doing merchandise, he's making some music now. And then Sammy was in a band called the Forthrights, which
nice.
Forthrights.
Yeah, I fuck with the Forthrights.
Yeah, the Forthrights, that's like one of those bands that should have pulled. You know, we all know those bands. Sammy K was like, Vic was mentoring the Forthrights, and they splintered off because Sammy K blew up on his own, and then the Forthrights, they morphed into the Far East, and the Far East, they share, like, you know, relations with, became the Frighteners. And to me, the Frighteners were going to go to the next level.
Do you know the story of the Frighteners? Like, why the Frighteners were the Frighteners?
No, I know little Dan died, and
little
what's his back?
But so we needed a guitar player and we needed two guys in the Forthrights, right? And Matt Birdie wanted Chucky and Preet to join.
Two brothers of an Indian descent, right?
Yeah, Chucky and Preet, right? Yeah. And and then Doyle showed up, and then we did like this weird instrument swap. But then those two dudes went and started the Frighteners. Back when like we were like there wasn't tours for me yet. Like Forthrights weren't even really on tour yet. Like it was like a whole thing.
What the bands was Chucky in?
He was just in that one band.
Yeah, that sounds wild familiar.
Dude,
no,
the
but
thing
the
about
Frighteners,
the Frighteners were like the perfect band. That's the thing about the Frighteners. Like there's nothing negative I could ever fucking say about that band. They like,
except they're not here.
I mean, there's reasons they're not here, you know?
Yeah.
Well, Dan Klein died.
Yeah, some ain't here.
Yeah, dude got diagnosed with ALS and passed away real quick, you know?
And that was probably a blessing in disguise. But like they were on Daptone because we, you know, had mutual connections with everybody. And Victor Axelrod started Daptones, and they also put out other bands that blew up, like Sharon and the
Nat King.
Yeah.
Oh, and nice.
And the other guy, Charles Barkley, that passed away. So it's like a lot of people say,
happy. Charles Barkley is a basketball player. The short guy.
same thing.
But Michael Jordan, he was the guitar player.
I don't
Jordan
know.
and the Daptors, yeah.
The guy
LeBron
died.
James. LeBron James died. He was a
Think he
drummer.
does kind of look like Michael Jordan. I'll give you that.
Who was the guy that the Daptone label had?
Charles Bradley.
Yeah, Charles Bradley. They had Charles Bradley, and they had Sharon King.
Yeah, he said Charles Barkley.
Something. I'm sorry, my bad. I just
Magic Johnson, he died, and then he was the bass player in the USA All Stars, and then Kevin
6
Garnett.
degrees of separation from all of this like amazing energy of like
We're talking about basketball. That's 6 feet of separation.
Yeah, so they got a Nike deal, and when the first Jordans came out, he started a ska band.
On the real, I'm down with some talented motherfuckers. I mean, I can trace connections to like dudes that blew up, and
You're Forrest Gump. Like you went running one day and just ran into all these motherfuckers.
Everybody, yo. I knew so many dope motherfuckers back then. I'm telling you, Papa B, and then there was Rocker T, and then there was like, KRS One every once in a while, and then there was like, Stubborn, and there was like, King Django, and then like all these crazy people. I'm just like, wow, these are like the best, my favorite musicians everywhere around me, and it just like inspired me.
He's like Jesus, Martin Luther King, and Bob Marley. They were in my living room, and it started to sky.
Yeah, it's like I knew motherfuckers who knew motherfuckers. I'll never forget when I was in high school and Vic got an invitation to try out for the New York Citizens. So Vic went to play. You probably don't know who New York Citizens are, but back in the day, New York Citizens was one of the ska kings of New York City. That was like the beginning of that was like the second wave, I think. There was like the Toasters, and there was like, the Skidanks, and there was like New York Citizens and Skinner Box. And you're like, yo, okay, I know Skinner Box, and wow, New York Citizens, those dudes are fucking really dope. So like Vic tried out to play bass. He didn't get the gig, but like he told me about it. And I was like, wow, you met the New York Citizens?
All right, Happy. Here's some old New York shit. Did you fuck with OPEC Sid?
I don't know what that is.
No, OPEC Sid had this hotline, and you call up, and he would tell you every show that was going on in New York. Like it literally be like the business. It literally be like the business and Tribe Called Quest in the same minute. Like OPEC.
That was back in the day when you used to read the Village Voice, right?
His whole spiel was like fuck the Village, like ABC No Rio. He was on some ABC No Rio shit, but it was a hotline, and you call up and he would drop what was going on.
Back in the day, there was like an underground network. You had to be tuned into things like, OPEC Sid. You had to know about ABC No Rio. You would pick up the Village Voice every Thursday from the free drops. Like, 'cause nobody would pay for it unless you like had $1. And back then, having dollars, like having $5 or $10 now, it's like you could spare it, but you really didn't want to. So, like, there was the underground that kept you moving. So, like, those local spots, like the record stores, and putting out product yourself, like, physical product like cassettes and vinyl, because of COVID, shit. Oh my God, it's back. And
the world is weird, Happy.
And that's what Sammy K and that's what Omega Jackson are doing. They're putting out product that's coming out on Bandcamp, on Lathe, on a cassette. I mean, physical product is back, and Balls is like, bringing it to the world.
Yo, Sammy, I might need some hookups from you. I might do one more fuck it tour next year based off doing this fucking Balls podcast. So I might have to get some info from you.
I don't even, man. I don't think that tour is going to happen for years.
I think
this shit is now, man. I agree, man.
Now I'm in late 21, 22. Yeah.
We're talking like, I think the concept of a music festival, maybe late 2022.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't you
But
do
I-
a virtual internet thing, Omega?
I don't know. I might need those spots where you only play like 12 people. Them are the addresses
Go
I
to the
need.
drive-in, man. People come and see at the drive-in.
That's next. I might just
Dude,
post
$200 a card for
Yeah,
like
man.
nosebleeds.
Hey, cram them all in.
Yeah.
Bringing your merchandise to the car.
I think we're gonna have a shitty winter, and then like COVID numbers are gonna go down like a motherfucker, and then someone to come with the cure. That's what I think.
I mean, I hope that.
Yeah, shitty.
Just so Happy doesn't have to go back to school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man.
Shitty winter in September. That's what I'm hoping.
My school shut down till they said maybe we'll go back in January, like hard maybe. Yeah, I'll be off of work 9 months.
Let me rephrase. I'm gonna need them like European addresses you got.
Yo, borders are closed. Borders are closed. Where do you think you're going?
I sneak in.
I'm closed here. I'm teaching.
All right, y'all. I gotta go jump in. I got an AA meeting.
Oh man, bless you, Sammy.
Soon.
God bless you. I'll be
It was
drinking.
nice meeting you, Sammy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Peace and love, sir.
Yes, Omega. Shoot me like through Happy. I'll send your boys a package. All right.
That's what's up.
Sammy, where can we find your stuff, man? I'm on my
What's the socials?
I'm super easily found. Everything is at Sammy K KAYNJ. And then
you heard it, man. Go and check that
and all
shit out.
the label is at Revolution VTG on Instagram and Facebook.
Thank you, man. Thanks for being a guest. I appreciate it.
I love you, my little brother. What's up?
All right. I'll see you guys soon. All right. Be
I'm
safe.
a holler.
For sure, brother. Please.
All right, peace. One.
That's so beautiful. It's so real for me, bros. You have no idea.
I feel this one pretty successful, man.
No, but like for me, it's so successful. I mean, witnessing Vic and you and Omega and Sammy interact. This is so
is dirty.
I kind of just felt like a spectator, man. Like I'm intrigued by all these stories. Like I
felt bad because you got thrown down the rabbit hole. Like
I was trying not to interrupt, man, because like a lot of this stuff is pretty fascinating. So I was like, I don't want to break a moment. So I mean,
Balls, are you related to Balls Mahoney?
you know what's funny? I get asked all the time, and like, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not.
Yeah, I've had some run-ins with Balls Mahoney.
No,
rest in peace. I'm an ECW guy, but yeah.
Oh, dude, I used to love that shit, man. I used to.
Well, yeah, Pittsburgh's got like a rich wrestling history.
man.
I don't wrestling. I liked it back in the day, man. I don't like it now.
I got Steel City Wrestling though.
My mayor, though, Google, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, you got Kane.
He Jacobs, I don't care you're Republican. I don't care you're racist. You are fucking Kane. Bless you.
He's on some like libertarian shit. Like, so, he could do some weirdo shit. Like, small government, big guns.
Kane. I'm like, can I have a picture with you? All I want is a picture with my mayor. He's my mayor. He's
the mayor.
I have an interesting story from when I probably about 10 years ago. I used to live next to you remember Doink the Clown from WWE?
Yes, Matt Board.
Yeah, Matt Osborne. He was my neighbor for the longest time, dude. He used to come over
shit.
and we throw it on the grill and shit. And I got
man.
work one night. Fucking Roddy Piper sitting on his porch.
Oh, wow.
They're smoking and drinking beers and shit. I actually got to go up and rap with him. It was funny, man. I like Happy. We like them crazy movies and shit, man. And
fuck yeah,
so fucking excited. Just not only from They Live, but I think I'm the only one in the world when it comes to Frogtown.
Oh wow!
So like I go up to him. I'm like, dude, I'm such a fucking fan, and he's thinking, wrestling this and that. And I'm like, I fucking love how it comes to Frogtown. And the look that this gave me was just like, I'll never forget it, man. Like, rest in peace. He's gone. He was just like, You like Hell Comes the Frog? He goes, I was in it. I don't even like Hell Comes the Frog.
I watched Frogtown at Rock and Rex. That's full circle.
Yeah, he was a cool dude, man.
That's how connected we are. You know, it's like I felt this vibe from both, and it's like, you know, I knew that we're the same. Like growing up and being this kind of person that like appreciates the different shit. Like we're not mainstream.
I've always been this way, even when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's what the common thread really is with me and Vic and Omega and Sammy and Balls and Alternative. Anyone who will listen to this, anyone that likes the Slackers, anyone that likes like punk or rap or reggae or rock or ska or just tries to go outside the like, you know, mainstream status quo.
Yeah, facts.
I'll tell you this, man. Like, here's how unconventional we are, man. But I'm getting married in October, and where I'm gonna have my wedding at.
Halloween?
I'm having it at Evans City Cemetery, where Night of the Living Dead was filmed.
Oh, nice. What day?
It's actually going to be the third weekend in October.
I got married on Halloween.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, my wife masterminded that. That was.
It was actually, I was surprised that my old lady was actually her idea, because you know she's into that shit. She knows how much it means to me. We go to, before COVID hit, man, we go to conventions 3 or 4 times a year. I am a nerd, and that's what nerds do. So I mean,
yeah, that was the jump. Like before we got married, we were going to conventions, and like we get the week ghetto tickets, and like see a family just leaving, and like here VIP, and then we'd go to New York Comic Con, and it'd just be
nice, man.
You know, like
you get married in a Jedi robe, Omega?
Yes, with a big L shirt and and Adidas fucking shell toes.
Yeah. Well, if you don't know how close you are to Omega, you two have a lot of like, you know, common threads.
But my wife masterminded wild that, you know, my wedding was dope, you know, and my wife made most of it. You know, I wanted the Jedi robe and a DJ, and then my wife finessed the rest of it, and it came out.
That's sick, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It was a dope wedding. It was a dope wedding. Yeah, so much shit was going on, but like it was a dope wedding. Yeah,
and that's like a transition to this project, because you know I'm a teacher and I work at a very diverse school in the South, but still I tell my kids, yeah, you know, color, racism, whatever, you got that, I got that, but to tell you the truth, I always really focus on our similarities more than our differences. So I'm meeting somebody on the other side of the planet, but you know what? I'm like in Japan, they like the Yankees. I'm in Yonkers, you like, you know, hardcore. Wherever I am, if I find a common thread, I don't care what you look like, we have a conversation about something. Everybody's like chilling. We're excited. We're laughing. We're talking about the common, you know, denominator. And I'm really excited about the Sic MAD, you know, projects that we've been putting out, because I got some cool motherfuckers down with me. You know, I got the drummer from the Slackers and all the best bands, Marcus, the same thing, and Vic, and then I got Omega, and I really got guest appearances, like Omega was saying. He's on the whole second side, and I got Breeze Everflowing, I got Rockstar Pooh, which is such a beast, I got Papa B, the best, listen to me, the best reggae vocalist in Japan I'm friends with. I don't know if you know anything about reggae, but reggae has sound systems that clash. This is a weird sidebar. So like dancehall reggae is competitions, and they like, you know, have these like fights and these clashes, and the leaders of like the clashes is Mighty Crown, which is a Japanese sound system. My wife is Japanese. She used to work at a Japanese restaurant, and sometimes her friend Papa B, Takagi Hideki, would go on vacation, and his roommate Sammy T, not Sammy K, Sammy T, would like substitute for him. And so Sammy T now is brothers with what's his name, who's also like these two brothers with two other people, they're the main sound people of like Mighty Crown. And Mighty Crown is the leading sound system in the world.
I'm happy. Let me ask you, because it was sort of out the blue. You moved to Japan out of nowhere. We saw stages. We saw you having more Japanese people on stage at Sick and Mad shows, and then you just upped and bounced and went to Japan. I know a lot of people that upped and bounced and went to Japan on some other shit, but you upped and was like, fuck it, I'm going to Japan. And because
I could.
Yeah, you upped and went. You was like, yo, fuck it, I'm out. I'm going to Japan. You know, out of nowhere. That was my MySpace experience. Like, how's Happy, Marcus? Yo, he's in Japan. Word? All right, you know. And
why? What did you?
Huh?
Wouldn't you go to Japan if you could?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, fuck it. I'd go. Yeah, I'd go to Japan. But like, what sparked that?
Because I could. I would.
Right. That's all I need.
I met my wife Yasko because I was hanging out with the Slackers one day. Me and Vic used to live on 23rd Street, and we were like, "Yo, nothing's going on tonight." And I used to read Archie. Do you remember Archie comics? They came out with these little digests in the supermarkets.
People on grandparents'
Corny white people shit.
Nah,
and
Archie had a good rep.
Maybe. Now he's cool. Back then he was not cool.
Pops.
I remember reading Archie comics. He had a band, and they're like, "Oh, let's play music on the street." So I was hanging out with Vic and TJ, who was also playing the guitar in the Slackers. I'm like, "Let's play music in the street." At that point, Vic, I don't know if whoever was there, we were playing music. They call it busking now, over at Washington Square Park. And I remember we were playing this song by The Specials, You're Wondering Now. And my wife walks by with two other Japanese girls that she was friends with. And, you know, you're with a bunch of guys and cute Japanese girls. And all of a sudden you're like, yo. So I was like, yo. But I was the only one smooth enough to keep mine. Because my other friends, they dropped theirs. I was like with a group of 5. And got like, you know, connections. But I was the only one smart enough to be like, you know what? Japanese women, no disrespect, but they're like kind of cool. So I was like, yeah, let me like invest in this. And I just like stayed in touch, and all of my friends dropped out because it was like too much of an investment. But I was like, I felt it. And no bullshit, you know, everything aside, I love my wife. We had a connection. So like, we stayed in touch, and then like all of a sudden, like she came back, and like, you know, we had a child. We moved to Japan, and I found that I had a connection with Papa B. Everything is full circle because Papa B is a really cool Japanese reggae artist, but he also likes punk. He also likes country. He also likes rock. He also is alternative. And he's also very considerate. Papa B is the nicest, most like, you know, self-aware person. You know, you hang out with someone and they're either a dick or they're sensitive to like other people's feelings. I hang out with Papa B, and he's always really like hypersensitive. He's like, "Are you okay?" I went to Yokohama Bay Stadium when they like Mighty Crown played a big reggae show. He went on stage in front of like 30,000 people, and he's like, "Are you okay? Can you stay backstage with my wife?" Afterwards, he ripped it. He's like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Can I get you some water?" I'm like, "Papa B, you just like were on stage, and you were like doing these flips and like these kicks, and you were spitting, and I'm still friends with everybody." And so it's a testament to my affection to my friends that I'm still doing music, and we try to put out stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the negative. Papa B was live on stage with y'all at the Cooler.
Yeah.
And Papa B got to do the Sick and Mad rewind. And I was mad jealous because I always wanted to do the fucking Sick and Mad rewind.
Oh.
And Papa B got to do it. And I was like, yo, this motherfucker just did the rewind. I'm mad. For those that don't know, Sic and Mad used to do this shit. It started with Happy, I think, and in the middle of a song, they would do the Happy would just go rewind, and the whole band would sound like a rewinded tape.
We were the Slackers. It was the Slackers backing up me, and they were always tight.
But you did it. I saw you do it, and it was like, yo, this is the dopest shit ever. I want to do this ever. You know, there's probably 100 people doing it right now, but y'all did it the best. And I always sat there, yeah, all right, the first. I always sat there. I was like, yo, I want to do that rewind shit. And then I got the opportunity to play with these motherfuckers at the cooler with everyone that Happy's mad at. And Poppy B gets on stage and does the rewind. And I'm sitting there.
He did these like kicks, but he was like,
yeah. I'm sitting there. I got a Nick bag packed because fucking Sic and Mad got the song called "Smoke the Ganja," and it was a smoke anthem, you know. So the usual players that were on it, K Strong, I forgot who else, and Papa B is on stage, and Papa B gets it started, and he does the rewind. I'm like, fucking mad. Yeah, I want to do that rewind. I was pissed. You know, my band broke up that show, but I was sitting there pissed because this motherfucker got to do the rewind. So, years later, do the rewind. Yeah.
It was mad authentic because we weren't culture vultures. We weren't like trying to pretend to be something that we're not, because you know you can get beat down in any hood by faking it in New York. So it's like
96. You could do that. So
whatever it was, I was never the kind of person to grab a mic and be like, yeah, man. And that was like the charm of the Slackers, because they do reggae, they do ska, but they don't put on an accent. Vic has a New York accent, and the Slackers are who they, say they are. Omega is who he is. He says he is.
All right, so there's beef between Happy and the Slackers.
No beef. Everything
you sound you sound like there's beef. Yeah.
No.
You sure?
It's all peace and love.
You breaking out accents like you. I ain't mad that there's beef, but this sounds like beef.
Nah. I was just.
You got exclusive. All right. So let me bring it back to the rewind. I'm sitting there, Mr. 17-year-old. I got my bag. I got my Nick bag from the Bronx. My bowl is packed. I'm waiting for these motherfuckers to smoke the ganja. My band just broke up. Happy gonna drive me home, but we gonna go to McDonald's before that and be like the McDonald's fucking drive-through motherfucker. And this Japanese motherfucker get on stage, kills it, and does the Sic and Mad rewind that's from the Slackers that I'm mad at because I didn't get to do it in my 16-year-old mind, and I was just sitting there mad because this motherfucker doing the rewind, and there's 20 Japanese people, including Happy's wife, on stage, and I'm mad. I'm 16-year-old mad, I got the ride to the show from my step pops. That's he engineered a bunch of Philly international shit. And this motherfucker probably smoked all of us. He was Vic before Vic, put on some soul Philly shit. And this nigga's like, yo, I can engineer your shit. I'm like, nah, cool. I'm gonna do the show. We fuck it up. Choking Victim played before us. They did the Choking Victim thing.
Wow.
He was black. Androids played. Change Inc. played. And the Sic and Mad is the headliner. And there's like 20 Japanese motherfuckers on stage. And Papa B come out and do the rewind shit. And I'm sitting there like, y'all been wanting to do this for my whole 16-year-old life. And I'm mad.
What's funny was that Spiral show, Justin and Weird Harold was there, and these people that were in the movie called Kids.
Harold Hunter.
Yeah, Harold Hunter, Justin Pierce.
Let me cut you off real quick. Justin Pierce headbutted me during your set.
When you skateboard, I told him to stop.
Nah, dude, straight like his forehead into my chin, and I shrugged it off, and he gave me a pound, and it was like, money.
He was feeling it. He was feeling it. He was sick and mad.
Y'all had like half like. I'm a skater. My other shit is skating. You had half of New York at that show.
Yeah,
like that's some memorial shit. Y'all had half of New York at that show. I'm getting headbutted by New York motherfuckers. Motherfuckers I'ma see in Friday Part 2. That rest in peace go and kill themselves and shit. Getting headbutted. Like, it's all peace. There's no pit beef. Money does this thing.
That was the deal back in the day. You fuck up, pick someone up. You're like, I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't mean it. Can I buy you a drink? And you're like, all right, I understand. I might have done that.
Yo, there's a dude, Danny Super, he was New York for a minute, went on and did some phenomenal shit, was skating outside fucking 360 and fire hydrants.
Mid-90s, motherfuckers were blowing up. I knew dudes from High Times. I knew dudes from Cypress Hill. I knew dudes that, were in the Spin Doctors and Blues Travelers, and they were on the Horde Tour and Lollapalooza, and everything in between. And it was like a breeding ground. You never know who was going to blow up next. And it was like rancid. But the cool thing is, the Slackers, they should be roots. The Slackers should be
good analogy. Nice.
But the Slackers, they keep it mad real, especially during COVID. The Slackers are holding us down as a fucking nation.
They got phone tours. These motherfuckers got circle lines for rent. I know people that are dead ass. I know people you wouldn't expect in the Rex days that are busting their ass to go to fucking Slacker shows on a boat.
Nobody can touch the Slackers.
Nah, facts.
Nobody.
But you motherfucker, you had Papa B doing the rewind. Rewind. I'm busting your balls, man.
No, you said it right. I roll with killers, including you. I mean, but the Slackers are the headliners right now because anybody in history brings it like the Slackers. I have so many stories about the Slackers in Atlanta, in Tokyo, New York City, everywhere in between, going up to the most humble fan who's like, I've been watching you since 1996. They're like, oh, let me get you into the show. Let's hang out. You want to get a beer? And they're like, can I really hang out? And they're like, shut up. Come on. Go backstage. Nobody came close to that. And I don't care if there's 2 people to 2 million people. The Slackers are so legit and real. Every single one of them in every single show.
I'm going to put it like this before I go pee and come back. Sic and Mad was Minor Threat. The Slackers were Fugazi.
I can't respond to that.
All right. I'm going to go pee. I'll pond on that. I'll be right back.
All right. Balls, I know you're a huge fan of Vic. I know that you're a huge fan of the Slackers. I know these are probably giving you some different kind of perceptions that you didn't have possibly before. Is there anything that you want to ask or add to it?
Actually, man, I'm interested in having you back again at some point to talk about all these Slacker stories. I'm completely intrigued with it.
Well, it's not that complicated, to tell you the truth. It's just a matter of connecting the dots historically because, the other interesting piece of the puzzle that I think you should explore is Marcus. Marcus is the bass player, and it's only Marcus and Vic that have been on the journey. And Marcus is such a strong backliner of the Slackers, and knowing him as a person and knowing him as a family person, because I am actually best friends with his sister Catherine that I share the same birthday with, and it's me and Catherine that have a special connection that kind of cemented. I met Marcus and I recruited him to play with the Sic and Mad that went on to the Slackers, watching him with his band in Vassar College, because he is such a fluid individual. And it's weird because Marcus and Aura are really just big rock musicians. Marcus and Aura are just so eclectic, and that's the backbone of the structure of the if you are Facebook friends with Aura or Marcus, you can see how versatile they are, and even Vic with literature and music and Omega and you and me, we watch movies, we read books, we listen to records, we listen to podcasts, we expand our minds in ways that most people don't in a very spectrumly place. And the Sick and Mad thing that drove us right now is this collaboration cassette that was put out by Rocking Rex and Tony Pradlick, which was like our mentor, and he was like this weirdo kid. He was only a few years older than me. I'm only a few years older than Chris. Sorry, Omega. Omega's only a few years older than Sammy. Sammy's only a few years older than Balls. It's a big kind of circle.
I'm back.
I might be older than Sammy, I think.
Yeah, what are you, 32?
Oh, dude, I'm 44.
Oh, you're older than me.
Can't tell.
Must be my beautiful face.
You drink a lot of water.
I used to also work in See Here. See Here was a book and video and magazine mecca of New York City. And I remember I used to visit Aura, the drummer of the Slackers and Sic and Mad, and he used to same thing like Tony. They would recommend books and records and videos. I used to buy videos of Lydia Lunch and different weird shit, and it expanded me. And I was like, let's make Sick and Mad a real creative project where we take ideas I have. And I was always inspired, and Vic was always inspired by people like Bob Dylan. And it's huger than genres of music. I mean, you grow up and you're like, yeah, I like pop, I like rock, I like rap, I like this, I like that. But occasionally there is an individual that introduces you to a bigger picture. And when you meet someone like Balls or like Omega that's into a bigger picture, you get inspired. You're like, well, what are they into?
Yeah, I fuck with our current. Our current used to do a lot of movies of Lydia Lunch. Our current, Lung Leg, Henry Rollins is in a few of them. But yeah, I fuck with Lydia Lunch.
Video? Okay.
Yeah. If you like Lydia Lunch, go look up our current.
Kurt.
Yeah.
Video.
Yeah.
Movies. Well, do you have any experience with alternative movies by any chance?
Whatever Tony had.
Not really, man, if you in all honesty.
Yeah, because alternative movies really expand the young mind. And I know that Balls, this podcast is so important to me because you like ska and you also like, not just horror movies that are mainstream, but when you expand and you explore, you're really stretching your imagination.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm not just a fan of horror. I'm a fan of exploitation if it's done for a purpose. I live and breathe the stuff, man. It's not just movies to me. It's a way of life. I mean, I'm into horror culture. I'm into just as much as I am, music culture. It's
Balls, what's your top 5 exploitation?
Oh, geez, man. it has to go by genre. I mean, you could do. There's so many subgenres. I mean, you just in general it'd be tough to pick. I mean, exploitation films. I like a lot of grindhouse films from the '70s. I like. I'd have to say, you could even count cannibal movies as exploitation, I guess. I mean, it'd be tough to pick, but I'd honestly have to sit down and think about it and get back to you because, I can name off 100 if you'd like, but to get the top 5, that's what I'm saying, man. It's so important to me. I'd have to sit down and actually weigh and think things out. So, I love Cannibal Holocaust. I like Cannibal Feroz. I like Make 'Em Die Slowly. I like Cut and Run. I like. Did you ever see Thriller, A Cruel Picture? That's a good one. Or I think they call her One Eye. I think is the original title.
What apps would you say to get for exploitation?
Man, sadly, it's fun. I have a Fire Stick, man, so it's like.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, it's pretty. You pretty much have the world at your fingertips.
There's Blue. What's it? Blue Movie, I think it's called. Blue Moon.
Was I know there's Blue. I have seen Blue Sunshine. I've seen that. It was a Jeff Lieberman movie. Is that the one of all the crazy bald head chicks?
No, this Blue Moon's an app, and they got all quote Blue.
Yeah, that's cool. I never heard of that.
I Fire Stick because I got it. I got it because it's cheaper than Shutter. And shit.
I have Shutter for Joe Bob exclusive.
Shutter's dope.
Shutter is dope. Yeah, that's what I said.
Dude, the minute he came back to Shutter is the minute I signed up for Shutter. I am a big fan of Joe Bob. I interviewed him on my show. He's the coolest fuck, man.
Oh, nice.
He's super nice. In fact, I interviewed Darcy the Mail Girl a few weeks ago. She's super nice.
What about Elvira? Can you give me pictures of her nipples?
I met Elvira, man. She's cool as hell.
She's so fine. I can't
believe she's still that hot, and she's like almost 70.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think she really is a vampire. I mean,
she could hire me any day.
Dude, she's making a fucking sequel to her movie.
I thought she gave up on all the virus shit.
No, dude, she's still. There
wasn't she in Three's Company like the lame years?
Well, yeah, that's Cassandra Peterson. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Early.
She could still get it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
She get the fucking 6 inches behind the barn for sure.
Well, we're coming out with a 10-inch, and it's probably because of her.
Hey, speaking of, let's talk about your 10-inch.
Thank you.
What a segue that is. Now, let's really talk about this stuff, though, man. Where can we find Omega? Where can we find your shit, man? I think it's something important we haven't talked about here. I mean, we've talked about.
Yeah, we went all over the place. This was
But I really think we need to put it out there so people can. I mean, I'm intrigued to go check all this stuff out. So, I mean, I want people to be able to do the same. So, why don't you let me know where we can find your shit, guys?
All right. I have OmegaJackson.net where you can get exclusives, shit that didn't drop, the rest of the 20 songs that I didn't put on the cassette, shirts, and all the other merch.
Dick pics, yeah. How much is that?
Dick pics, yeah. I don't have
Bandcamp now too, right?
I don't have the.
Your dick pics are on Bandcamp. Wow.
Yes, that comes with the special 7-inch. The Vic and. Basically, if you look up Omega Jackson as one word on anything, that's how you find me.
You're like a genie almost.
Almost, yeah. I'm Aladdin without without my wife cheating with August.
I see.
Yeah.
What happens if I say your name 3 times in a mirror? Will you appear in
a show with bees in my mouth, ready to kill?
Oh shit!
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that shit, man. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, Omega is really the most punk rock rapper you will ever meet in your life. I mean, rappers come out wearing band blade shirts. How many of them are wearing Cro-Mag shirts?
Yeah, I've never seen that, man. That's definitely.
He's not really a rapper. He's really a punk rocker who's wearing the lens of a rapper.
Maybe you're a punk rapper.
I'm a punk rock guy. I'm a punk rock guy that can rap. That's mainly.
There's nobody more punk rock that's doing rap than Omega Jackson. He is so punk rock and he's so hip hop. It's there's no one that does it. It's Yonkers. It's just Yonkers. You can't Yonkers made New York hardcore. Yonkers made underground hip hop. Yonkers made Omega Jackson. Omega Jackson is a product of Yonkers that is New York rap punk rock.
Oh. And Happy is the Morpheus of all this. So.
Are you like Thanos?
He's Thanos minus the glove and the so,
I am not.
Or comic book Thanos.
Nah, it's really Vic. Vic is a driving force of the Slackers. Vic is a driving force of his solo project. And his solo project is also supporting on Bandcamp, Sic MAD. So Sic MAD is on Vic Ruggiero Bandcamp. Sic MAD has a lot of other extensions. We're on the Rocking Rex, website because Rocking Rex put out But Still Vexed last cassette. But I don't know, we're just fueled by the same source, which is just our generations and our similarities more than our differences. And I just really appreciate Balls from Ellwood. Thank you so much, sir, for hosting this Zoom call and allowing us to spend this time together.
Happy. When this is all said and done with, can we get a special potato reunion show?
I'm okay with that, but the problem is the rest of Special Potato, they're kind of busy with the Slackers. And the Slackers, they are the hardest. They are James Brown. There's no one more James Brown than the Slackers. James Brown wasn't even as James Brown as the Slackers are. The Slackers work harder than any other band in existence. Nobody does it harder than the Slackers. So, I mean, when the Slackers are not working, they don't want to fuck with Sic MAD, but they do fuck with Sic MAD because I'm in the house. So occasionally we put out shit. And when we put out shit, you better buy shit because you don't know when the next time we're going to put out shit is going to be. So now we're putting out shit and buy our shit because it's out now.
All right. Y'all packed out Auto Shrunken Head, which is like the spot you played when you first started. I've played Auto Shrunken Head and probably had like 11 people. Y'all had the place packed. Y'all could do that shit again with the fucking Special Potato reunion.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, that's what. That's the genesis of this tape.
Yes, if I remember correctly, that's when I asked if you were working at Hunts Point.
If I was hoeing or pimping.
Yeah, because Omega came over to a Sic MAD show with Tony Pradlick, and then later on he's like, "Oh, I gotta go because I gotta work." And I was joking around. I was like, "Oh, you gotta go to Hunts Point?" And he's like, "Yeah, exactly." And then Tony drove him home, and I never saw him again.
Let me break that day down. I had a job interview. I had to go to work.
You're mad skinny.
Yeah. I'm trying to get back to that weight.
And you're fighting type 2 diabetes right now, right?
Yeah, which is like the flip of that workout regimen. All right, so I had to go. I had a job interview up the street from my house. I went to my regular job. I came down on the train to do that show. Tony drove me back to do an overnight. And then I did the overnight, went home, got 2 hours of sleep, and went back to work.
You always abuse yourself for Sic MAD shows. I can never thank you enough for that. He gets his ass beat as a teenager by his mom for coming down and seeing my shit. And, it's reciprocal because I recognize that. And I'm like, there's a weird teenage kid and he's gonna stay all night in Grand Central or like Penn Station or whatever to go home just because he wants to see me rock. Let me drive him home. I looked out for Omega.
I brought motherfuckers with me.
Yeah, and back then it's like if you have 5 paying people, you're good. And that's what put Sic MAD on, and that's actually what put the Slackers on, because back in the day, if you have like 5-10 people buying your shit and coming to your shit, so my point is, support your locals. I mean, if somebody's putting out a cassette, if somebody's putting out a podcast, if somebody's putting out vinyl, if somebody's doing a DJ night, whatever it is, if somebody's doing something creative in your neighborhood or in your local reach, if it's virtual, if it's physical, support them because your money is power. And do not put that money or power in the corporates. Put it in the locals. So if I'm putting out food, if I'm putting out music, if I'm putting out a video, give me the money. Do not give that money to Amazon. Do not give that money to any other corporate, Pizza Hut, Walmart. Do not give it to anyone mainstream. Give it to your localized, individual, artistic creations as much as possible. I feel like KRS-One sometimes when I spit, except I'm fat and
it's like a
white and corny Jew. That's my inspiration.
I too.
Do you guys have any, closing things to say? Anything inspirational for this fucking crazy world before we go?
Let me go first. I would like to support Smirk Shirts at smirkshirts.net. I'd like to give my wife a shout out who doesn't have a website that I know of, but I love her, and she makes ill wedding plans.
Good, actually. I'll tell you about it later.
Yeah. I have Omega Jackson, both Omega and Jackson as one word. Is your best Google hunt because some asshole has Omega Jackson and he only put out one song and that shit is whack. I have shirts coming out, patches, buttons, probably a cat food brand one day. Peace to Wendell and Hobbs. What else I'd like to shout out? Yeah, or OmegaJackson.net.
Fucking Rex.
I'd like to shout out mentor, homie, father figure, Tony Pratlick, for fucking putting this together and dropping the gems in our head. Most of this podcast was us flexing Tony Pratlick knowledge. He's the white Elijah Muhammad for motherfuckers. I'd like to thank Happy is Sic MAD and Happy for all the hard work he put in, all that other good shit. And, my man did his...
No homo.
Very poised, no homo. Hey, yo.
No homo. Pause.
Very poised, no homo. I'd like to thank homos that I'm offended.
Pause. No pause.
No pause. Be a homo. We all want homo children, so we gotta fucking pull the shotgun and shit. If I got a homo child, I'll come into the gay bar with the motherfucker, and me and a nigga gonna find dates for his fucking homo ass. Anyway,
Not the west side.
That's it.
West Village.
West Village, OPEC Sin, the pyramid, the triangle, any geometrical shapes.
Orange people.
Orange people.
Village people.
Then, that's about it. And Byron tattoos. Speaking of homos, now we play.
Yeah, I want to shout out to the rainbows everywhere. No, I'm sorry. Balls.
Oh, we're playing.
I want to shout out balls and cocks and shit.
Balls.
Sorry.
The balls.
Oh, we give a shout out to my left ball. Sorry.
All about balls. Left, right, to an interview.
No, thank you so much, Balls from Ellwood.
Yeah,
this was such a great opportunity.
I gotta say, man, it was a pleasure to meet both of you. I had a great time. I'd actually like you guys to come back again soon if you'd like, man. I had a blast.
You're like a homicidal Dr. Phil.
We don't get that much. We never got that, actually. We never will get that.
That is beautiful. Thank you very much, Omega.
Thank you, Balls.
Hey, it was a pleasure meeting you cats. Thank you so much. I'm going to put up all these links and more. You heard it, cats. Please go out, seek out Omega Jackson. Go check out Happy, Sic MAD. If you don't, you're fucking insane. Please do.
And represent Balls.
Thank you. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Thank you, sir. Hopefully do this one more time.
We will, for sure, man.
This was bad fun.
Peace, brothers.
All right,
Peace out, man.
Love you.
All
Love
right.
you too, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Here. All right.